The votes are in, ladies and gentlemen. No pages today. It's all about Billy. Punk, chaotic, greatest of all time. Swap to Billy right now, and welcome back to the night shift. It's episode 2, and we've already been gifted by a code.
Whoa!
This one I just had waiting on the desk. I felt it before the show, ZP. Why are you so fired up for farm animals to be joining your favorite game?
Well, look, I mean, you just spend a little bit of time in the practice range and take a look at Billy, and he's looking exciting. Brand new frontliner option just dropped. Both disruption with just knocking people off the bat, dropping the chain gang, which is the name of his ultimate that is just going to be pulling people together for all sorts of chaos. Who knows? Maybe this little bit of Billy Dynamo action could be on the menu later today in NA, where, by the way, NA is going to be able to play a bit of Billy, should he avoid getting banned. But he's looking good.
Horn, nice knock up. We're liking this so far. Uber, what is going to be most impactful? Like, out of the gates, I know you don't have a ton of time looking at this character, but what has you excited?
Yeah, so obviously, importantly, he has his passive ability, or rather, he can a debuff he can put on people, which is called Wrecked. And when they're impacted by Wrecked, your weapons can become empowered against them, and also your gun damage gets amplified, and melees boost your max health. So really sick, that duration. Very, very powerful. He's just going to be a great bruiser with good crowd control. He's going to need to build pretty heavily into that durability. But Chain Gang is an unbelievable ultimate that actually, slows people down drastically if they try and walk away. You have to LOS Billy to break the chain. And if you don't within the duration, you get yanked all the way back to Billy. Take spirit damage, which of course makes it really easy for him to land that bash down on you to knock you up. It pulls you down and knocks you up. So there's a lot of very powerful stuff. This guy's gonna be a ton of fun to watch. Another great frontliner with pretty ridiculous crowd control capacity.
Yeah, the fact that he eats the mag is amazing. Shout out to Tiny Man of Evil in the chat. We're over 1,300 viewers on Twitch. We're popping off on YouTube, and I was told we're gonna be on Kick. We're everywhere. It's night shift. It's night number 2, and your general manager, Chris Puckett, is stepping in. It's going to get weird, and I've already had a little sample of Deadlock, and I was told it's only going to get better, because now we have 2 teams that are very familiar with each other, who going to be filling in for Virtus.pro tonight, and they're going to be taking on the Abrahams. Before we get into that game, though, we got to re-hit what we witnessed in the Challenger matchup. Uber, Virtus.pro, were they playing with their food? Was it a close matchup at all throughout that game, or are they clearly on a different level in EU?
I really enjoyed the individual mechanics of Lotus in lane. They actually kind of dominated, not even just in the mid lane, but also the play of Pyro off in one of those side lanes. Really nice Yamato looks from them. Unfortunately, this composition not only needs to have a good sort of early game, but it needs to really leverage the pick potential of the Paradox in the mid game alongside the Wraith. And unfortunately, VP are chasing after them. They're the ones starting fights, and their whole front line is basically, they will have Phantom Strike at some point, which allows them to basically teleport targets and end up behind them. So it's basically a death sentence if you don't have the right sort of tech to deal with it. And you can see how the game blew out. It was really competitive. I love the lane pressure Lotus was putting down, but as soon as VP got to move around the map and sort of make these little plays in 2s and 3s and go after objectives, yeah, it was pretty cooked. VP lost their, I think, 2 or maybe even all of their walkers first, and it still didn't matter. They were so far ahead in souls, and the biggest thing for them, Puckett, was they walked into Lotus' jungle and they stole it up. Lotus were not able to farm their neutral camps at all, and that is a significant part of your money. Look at Zergy, 40k total souls, 30% of that is from neutrals. So he's living in the jungle, not just he's taking it away from Lotus, where at most what Lotus have 16% of 29k. So they really got choked out in that aspect of the game.
Who's your early MVP, Mr. ZP?
Well, so far from VP right now, I'd probably go towards Demov. As cool as it was to see Listic coming on in on the Mina and making it look good, I just feel like Demov is the glue behind VP when they get ahead in the mid to late game. Especially when playing heroes like Viscous. I mean, Demov is doing a lot of heavy lifting, both in disruption and just keeping the team alive. But I will say, as I look back on the match and perhaps weaknesses towards the Lotus end, I think the fact that Pyro wasn't able to get ahead souls-wise really hurt them, because they were a little bit lacking in frontline. When you take a look at their overall lineup, I mean, their main frontliner was Yamato, and as a result of Pyro being a bit behind, or at least not as far ahead as you'd want Yamato to be, I don't think Cosmetical really was given too many opportunities to be opportunistic on the pocket, come on in and make things happen. And wait a second. I'm getting into mixed things here. We say Demov, but it's Listic, but it's also a Viscous. And also, though, that MVP screen looks amazing. Production did some work.
Yeah, it looks awesome.
Listic popping off throughout that game. Will we see Mina in the next one, Uber?
I think that
I know the GOAT's not going to be there, but can we see more Batgirl?
Yeah, I think Mina will be contested. I think ZP made a really interesting point. Right now, a lot of teams are banning Holiday, and Warden is something that you ban against VP quite often. Like, you don't want to deal with that. So the fact that we've just injected a new hero that's really dangerous into the mix can really drastically change the draft strategy. It's dangerous to ban Mina first because you leave so much open to your opponents, but VP get first pick here. So bear in mind, they're the challengers coming up. They have that little edge. So that's something that you have to take into account. It might need to be a second round ban. I don't think we're first round banning Mina if we're going to do that, because she's a great skirmisher, really effective and very self-sufficient, but does not start those fights well. You need an initiator tool in your composition first and foremost.
Chat's asking, wait, did Billy get released? Yes, Billy is here. We're asking our NA teams. So don't be afraid. Pull them out. But right now, it's time for your EU final. We're going into picks and bans, and I was a noob on this first one. ZP, walk me through the thoughts. Who gets the advantage? It's Virtus.pro with the edge, right?
Yeah, and VP, they're actually making an interesting call here. They're deciding to defer. They actually think that second pick is more value here, because in part of it, they don't necessarily have to ban one of the top heroes. But in this case, Abrahams, I think, knew that VP was going to look to not ban either Vindicta or Mina and pick up one of the two. Now VP, they're kind of the spot where they have to ban Mina, or Abrahams may pick it, and they don't get a Vindicta in return. But also VP could be okay with that, because surely I think they would come in with something like Warden Yamato as their first two picks.
Time to plan a heist.
Chat over on YouTube just found out that Billy is here. That's right. Billy will be in our NA matches for now. We know these two will not, as Abrahams went with the first ban. Now Virtus.pro takes the board. Any surprises here, ZP? You sent me over a list of the most banned characters in the first round. Were these two on top of that list?
Vindicta, yes. Paradox, not so much. Paradox coming back into the fray, but Abrahams, they knew VP was going to go for Warden. You don't get much better than Warden right now in terms of being both a frontliner and someone you can funnel souls into. And Sharik, one of the best Wardens in the business. Also, somebody who can play if need be. They decide to take it away, but VP, again, they can open with, not Vindicta, but they can get Abrams +1. For me, I would love to see them take the Yamato away if they could grab it. I think Yamato is something that Abrahams has relied on so heavily to get an early game advantage and carry them into the end game. Taking away the Yamato would be very strong here, but also it may give up the Mina. So
do you take the Holiday here as well? Like, that is still available. True. That's often first round ban. Holiday, much like Paradox, allows you just to grab someone in a lasso, and pull them into your team. Okay, so it was Abrams Viscous and not Abrams Yamato. There you go.
By the way, we are up to $685.38. That equals a second 69-cent donation. Nice.
Thank you very much.
Gang. You're welcome. Doing math.
Math is coming in, and the donations too, but the opportunity to deny the Yamato is now gone. Abrahams recognizing, look, we use this a lot. It is going to be plopped in the middle, and usually for Abrahams, probably going to try and back it up with something like a Mirage if they're able to grab it. Just get a wildly powerful poke lane in the middle has usually been their MO. VP, by comparison, though, I gotta say, you're thinking about how it may go down. The Mina is available, but the Kelvin, they're just picking up the Kelvin for Saint.
Yeah, also, Obakim's already had the Vindicta banned away from him here. So that's obviously two heroes from Obakim's pool that they really like to play when they possibly can. This is going to be, an interesting sort of top-off for our third ban. Pardon me. You might be looking at getting a 7 here at some point, something that scales nicely into the late game, and that's snapped up. I just want to point out I'm 2 for 2 on Viscous 7 here. Very, very solid from Virtus.pro, though. And again, they're quite consistent. Makes them fairly easy to read them in this pick ban.
I'm looking at this here, and I'm wondering on the bans. For Abrahams, this is where I think banning the Mina could be good, especially if you're not as comfortable on it. You figure Listic will end up deciding to bring it in. Lash ban coming on in has been a favorite of Abraham's to play, something that you could even see ABL play a little bit later on. So VP, they decide we don't want to deal with that, get that out of here. But this next mid-stage ban for Abraham's really could go anyway, as Puckett has something in mind. Oh, tip!
Look above you.
I guess I'll
Aussie, thank you very much. Aussie 808 with a $50 tip that's going straight towards our shift number 2 prize pool. Thank you for supporting our players and for supporting this tournament. It's a great day to be a Deadlock fan. Great day to come back as well if you're just sort of dipping your toe in. It's been a fun time here, and so we're going to get better. Ivy banned here for Abraham's.
Now, Ivy was on the top tier with Vindicta, so I feel like Abraham's must have been part of this show last week. Is this their go-to bans out of the gate every game, ZP?
Honestly, this is looking pretty standard across the board. The thing that's going to be interesting for me and VP is that oftentimes when they pick, Viscous, it's Demov on it, and when they pick Holiday, it's also Demov on it. So they're going to have to show a little bit of the classic VP versatility in who is playing what. But Abraham's, they pick up the Infernus. You got to think that's going to be ABL playing it, given we saw ABL do for one-win team last week.
I think also like the Holiday pickup here for VP is a little later than I would have expected, but it does give you that sort of great roam potential. We see Holiday's, still picking up a bit of the sort of spirit damage now to empower the barrels. Really good at just knocking people up and juggling them. Taking an outright bully like Sinclair it makes perfect sense. The fact that Sinclair can copy ults means that there's a spirit lasso available to Abraham's as well. Really, really important. If you don't get either Paradox or Holiday, you try and get Sinclair and at least give yourself the option to single out one of those individuals at the start of a fight.
No more hiding.
Pocket.
How strong is Pocket's pocket? Pocket's pocket?
Pocket's pocket. Well, Pocket's pocket, I mean, who knows? It could be the best pocket ever. We'll just have to put that to the tape. But pocket in general, probably the most all over the place hero in terms of draft right now, where some teams will value it very highly depending on player skill. Other teams will, slip it in towards the very back. So as you have a good front line though that could create opportunities, the pocket, if you're easily farmed, I mean, Affliction could be a big team fight changer. And in particular, the way VP has built their team between the 7, the Viscous, and now the pocket, their ability to fight earn is actually going to be really, really strong. Like, I think their team fight is good. However, on the same note, you're still gonna have to deal with things like Last Stand and Frozen Shelter for Abraham. So I think we're just shaping up to have incredible team fights as we get into the mid game.
He's kind of based here for a last pick. So obviously you've got someone who's doing a great job at moving around the map and setting up some of those pickoffs. Hayes is pretty good against these teams that Virtus.pro have sort of put together where they want to fight within a pretty close, tight locale. Viscous, 7, and Pocket all have very powerful AoE ultimates that really skew things in your favor if your opponents don't sort of disengage and find another way to come back in. So Hayes does give you an option amidst that. Both teams, honestly, have got really fun comps for like straight up brawling and just all-inning each other. Kelvin obviously is amazing at controlling that space, chasing down kills, but Frozen Shelter is big, and Infernus has an area of effects done on that ultimate that can really turn a fight in his favor. So this should be fun. A lot of nukers on this Abraham side of things, not to mention Warden. As he pointed out, Last Stand is an incredible AoE ultimate that he just needs some time to charge up. But when he gets it, it's devastating.
ZP A-Clut says 3 Demov characters. What's his best? Which would you run? He was in the running for MVP running Viscous last game.
Honestly, between the 3, I think there is maybe a world where we see Obakim. Actually, I think it's still Demov on the Viscous and Obakim goes to Holiday. Yeah, because Obakim did have a streak where he was playing Holiday a lot. It kind of went to the wayside where Demov was playing a bit more. But yeah, at VP, they're going to have to flex out of their zone because, as you mentioned, it's multiple Demov characters that have been picked this time around. But also, it could be Obakim on the Mo and Krill if you're thinking about things Obakim can play. But I think it will be Demov on the Viscous once again, but who knows? We're always willing to be surprised here at the Night Shift.
I was told the ethos of the Night Shift is that we bring the game closer to the fans than anyone else in esports. Well, Jason Kaplan just answered the question, can we watch this in-game? The answer was, we do not hide the match ID. So I think that means donate, and then you can do it guilt-free. Watch as deep in the game as you want to go, as we're just over $730 in the prize pool. Goal is to hit 2,000 at the end of the show. That'll be 1,000 for EU, 1,000 for NA. Anything over that, it goes to next show as we go into shift number 3. But shift 2 is kicking off with our EU final. Gentlemen, final thoughts on our bans and our picks. Do we like what we see? I feel like VP ran 4-6 of this comp in their last game.
I think when I look at VP here, I think their comp is a little bit more tilted towards the early game. I think Abrahams has some absolutely devastating options if it goes late, particularly in terms of who they can funnel the souls to. So I think if you're looking at VP here, while they can be competitive late and it's not that hard of a divide between the two, I do think Abrahams is going to be very difficult to deal with if they come out of the early mid game even or better.
Here we go. It's game number 2 on your mic tonight. The Australian wonder turned American finesser. It's Uber Shouts with ZP, the Minnesota goat herder.
Honestly,
very much.
I'll take it, Mitch. I'll take it.
You know what? That's fine. I'm good with that. Yeah, I think you're touching on something that's really important, is that Abrahams' team composition scales quite nastily into the late game. You know, obviously, you know, Warden alongside this Yamato are very scary in that sense. Also Infernus. So Virtus.pro want to flex their macro muscles to try and end this game. Sub 25, I think sub 30 if they can do that. And it requires them to be absolute headaches in the lane. But Abrahams have some options of their own, right? Our Chemical Flask spam, very powerful for Warden. Obviously, that Frost Grenade from Saint, who's getting some scrutiny from Zergy right now, means that the lane can become quite a nuisance. And also the Sinclair lane with Vexing Bolt is a pain in the neck. A lot of damage available. So there's by no means a clear path here for Virtus.pro. A lot of it's going to come down to how effective their macro is. And I think this is a comp CP that actually lets them showcase that.
Yeah, and also just a quick note on the lanes. I mean, the middle lane is star against star. I mean, on one hand, you got Holiday Viscous, which is probably one of the stronger lanes you can make, and it's up against Sinclair Yamato. Both teams decided we're going to fight with mid lane with the absolute best that we can do, but already Shriek in danger again, chased on down, and it's Jamside on the Infernus, not ABL this time around. Yeah,
a bit of a mix up there. Obviously, I think this comp is pretty filthy. Saint and Jamside alongside each other with the slowing of the the ice beam and the ticking damage that Jamside can provide. Infernus still an absolute pain in the neck to lane against and really makes it hard to have that level of sustain. I said a power slash there coming forward together. Definitely happy to get a little bit aggressive towards this Holiday Viscous lane, which has really good poke. It's a bit of a nuisance. Crack shot, the passive, of course, on Holiday makes those connections really quite satisfying after a brief charge period. And so far, Abraham's trying to shove up 3 lanes simultaneously. VP pushed onto their tower in mid for now. That Guardian is sort of shielding them to some degree, but they could be losing out on some souls.
Health is currency early on in Deadlock laning, and you take a look at the left-hand side, and things are a little bit difficult. Obikim also running into some trouble on the Holiday in the middle, so Abrahams is coming in out of the gate a bit more aggressive on the laning phase, but you take a look on the left-hand side, and they are just pushed up the whole way through. That's actually a very significant amount of Guardian damage is coming in on the left, and the way it is in Deadlock right now, you usually are not going to get help from another lane until a Guardian goes down, so it's a problem to be solved at the moment from Zergy on the left-hand side.
And in order to fix that, you see a lot more players these days buy monster rounds. It builds in a cult of sacrifice, which is great, but it's less important than the fact that you get an extra 25% damage to NPCs with your weapon, and you also have 25% bullet sort of resist from them with a little bit of regen, out of combat. So it lets you shove in, lets you just be more impactful, just pummeling that wave and starting to deny that wave from your opponents. Right now in Deadlock, you are really incentivized to go aggressive in lane. You're not going to get help from, people rotating in, so you can overextend to some degree. You can dive behind those Guardians, and you're unlikely to be punished. Go and secure those kills and get that soul lead.
Saf's been doing that a lot in the middle, by the way, making max usage of the versatility of Vexing Bolt, where for Abrahams, where you just see Saf go, okay, I'm going to go way behind, try and get a little bit extra poke, but finally, the dam breaks, and so on the right-hand side, Listic on the Abrams this time around, the VP Classic, going to be picking up first blood.
I just can't think of a more sort of quintessential in Europe anyway, hero and player combination. Listic obviously absolutely in his bag right now, in the wheelhouse, and is leading souls for his team. However, this constant push has finally yielded that Guardian pickup here. Saf able to pick it up. We're on the left side of the map here, where Jamside is also looking to pressure that Guardian down just a little bit more. Thank you very much for the $50 tip as well. Unreadable name. Great to have you on board. Thanks for supporting our tournament.
SLIDAA58B821. We appreciate you.
Nailed it.
And they say the robot revolution is going to take some time. No. It's all
the
right.
humans are dead. All right.
Looking into it. And also maybe death time here from Owen Krill. Sharik getting pushed on back, and this pressure on the left-hand side been pretty remarkable, where, by the way, Saf just making a quick low rotation, making it a 3-on-2. So a little bit of an earlier rotation than you tend to see in Deadlock, and the counter of this is that when you take Sinclair out of the middle, this is feeding more farm together.
I mean, early Guardian take in mid, and now threatening one on the left-hand side of the map. So, nice early pressure. Okay, Storm Cloud used here. Virtus.pro really trying to rattle their sabers at Abraham's, get them to back the heck off of their Guardian. You can see it's chunked down to about quarter here. There's Taz going down. Listic proving to be a bit of a nuisance on the right, but you notice that VP haven't been able to turn this lane advantage into pressure on that Guardian. That's a kill that's going to be traded out eventually as the Warden of ABL makes it a swap. Oh, the classic. Overkim dragged underneath the Guardian here with a copied Magic Lasso. And it will be a pickup here for Saf. That is a holiday down.
One thing we didn't really touch on is that the way Abraham's drafted, without the use of a standard playmaking hero like Paradox or Holiday or Bebop, it's Tass that's going to be on the Haze. So what you're going to expect from the Tass is that Tass is going to be building the Haze more towards mid-game and being very, very active, where once Tass is free of the shackles of this right-hand lane and the Guardian is down, you're going to be seeing Tass basically rotating around the map continually, trying to make things happen on the Haze.
The VP trying to be pretty assertive in defending this Guardian, but it's not to be. ABL catches Listic out. Excuse me. He overextends in that situation, and there is a last stand from the Warden that just eats through.
On the right-hand side, the pressure is coming on in. Could be second Guardian in a hurry here for Abraham's, where overall in the aggregate, VP maintaining a reasonable closeness on the souls, but the Guardians, when you get Guardians down early, it just creates so many opportunities to take the map, invade enemy farm, and go from there, as Tess not too worried about some of the pressure coming in from Pocket.
Yeah, chilling, I think. Tess already getting around the map a decent amount. So this is, again, a good spot to be in. Abraham's, though, did have about a 2k soul lead. That was remediated pretty quickly. Most of that is probably in the hands of Dimov and Listic, respectively. Here's the shoulder charge trying to line up on ABL. What is the mechanics there? That is disgusting. Hoot. The ringer comes in, secures that kill, but Listic, man, is such a dangerous player. Frost Nova basically makes it impossible for your target to slip away from you. And more souls into the coffers of VP.
Cold Front coming back into the meta once more. Hasn't really ever quite left, just goes in ebbs and flows. But, you take a look at Listic. This is a good omen for VP because Abrams is still one of those heroes where, as far as frontliners go, if you fall behind as Abrams, you could be in for a rough game. But if you get ahead as Abrams, suddenly you go from not just a mere frontliner, but someone that can finish kills on their own. So this is now a pain point, and they recognize it. You take a look, Saf flirting with the idea right now, Mitch, of coming over to the right-hand side and, putting a little bit of pressure onto what is becoming more of a problem for Abraham's on this right lane.
Yeah, I do think something needs to be done about just the domination from Listic here. Remember, that is a lane that also features Hoot, so dangerous. That Affliction can come down. Hoot is very slippery, very hard to catch, and if there's multiple of those barrage bolts connecting, the damage amp is pretty filthy. So, a chemical flask thrown down. Looks like thought it was a bullet dance there from Taz, but no, not to be. Just trying to move around the map. Listic comes in with a side-stick slam, though. Saf, okay, opted the copy one himself, looking to work down at this Guardian as quickly as possible. And Listic is taking a little bit too much aggro here, and it's another VP Guardian down. They only have one left. It's there on the left side, and it didn't look like Hoot was in any position to help Listic. Both VP laners are forced out.
Yeah, and even with no kills there, Saf just making the rotation just stymies some of the momentum that Listic was building up. So you just see the benefits of winning middle lane. The fact that Saf now can be Mr. Fix-It for Abraham's, but things getting down and dirty once more here in the mid. Shadow Transformation already popped by together.
Ready to get pursuit.
All right, Overkim jump pad gets himself up on the higher ground. Barrel thrown in. Tass forced the jockey back. Saf not really giving any attention right now to Overkim, who does not have a Magic Lasso available. Tass up on the buildings here, but the Siphon is in effect, and Saf does not want any of that smoke right now. Listic is looking big, brolly, vascular, and he barely takes a scratch in taking that kill away.
It's easy to forget, but Abrams one of the first heroes to get the model upgrade, and just got a bit thicker. It's just Abrams, maybe bearing the curse of the book, the tome, as it were, but yeah, it didn't hurt his gains one bit. But we'll see how things work out here. We're still overall, Mitch, very even, as we're about 40 seconds away from first earn and next set of buffs.
Yeah, they're seeing
CP, when are t-shirts coming out? The all girth, no dearth.
All good, no
Night
dirt.
shirt.
Yeah, we need to get that one
Soon.
going. We need to get our
With an
merch
Abrams face
pumped
or
out.
a viscous face on it. One of them.
Why not
Working
both?
on it.
Yeah, you got the girth shirt and the dearth shirt. I don't know, like, make it a combo set.
It's a Mina shirt,
Picture
chat.
this for
We
me.
know what you want. All right.
Picture this
back
for
to
me.
you.
Abrams. I'm not going to actually, it's really inappropriate.
All
No,
good,
really,
no
I just
dirt.
thought they get ahead of me. Okay, not cancelled. Not cancelled today. He's a Siphon active. Shadow transformation used there though by Together. Remember, those abilities charging up and hitting a little bit harder, but nice little melee that comes in. Overkim trying to get forward. Listic takes a buttload of damage, especially coming in from the Guardian, but Shariq's able to get Taz elsewhere. Overkim on your screen here, just jockeying him back in mid, and Virtus.pro ready to collapse to some degree. Saf wanted to come forward here, maybe. Yeah, not recommended. He quickly realizes this is a bit dangerous, and a storm cloud comes in now from Zergy. Together just gets shocked to within inches of his life. In fact, he's sent back to base in a screaming heap.
Also, Mitch, bit of alert here when you look at the economy of the game. ABL may be on the take. 9.6K right now on the board, and souls are being funneled in the ABL, just focusing on getting ahead of the game, which is going to be a real problem for VP as we get into bigger team fights with VP. Also, on the same note, Zergy, same as what he did last game, is right now, Tass, this is where Tass is probably about to get more active. A little bit of a drive-by right now, a bit of pressure on the Listic, but expect to see Tass going round and round the map, and this may be target number 1 right now, looking for the mole.
Yeah, this is tough. Burrow's going to be there. I'll be honest, it's a pretty tanky Shariq, but he's going to get caught out. And the fact that Saf's able to secure a earn turn at the same time is huge. Abrahams now have themselves a little bit of a 2K soul buffer, rather. Starting to think about these objectives a little bit more now with Virtus.pro losing a second player across the map. This is a Walker that is going to disintegrate awfully quick here. That is a pretty terrifying scenario in terms of how many souls are just going to get handed over to you. Here's a concussive combustion active, but Jamsai wasn't able to catch onto anyone with it. He's just trying to defend against this Walker trade. But that's a lasso catch from Overkim, and it should be an easy pickup. They've got themselves a Walker. Both teams trade them out. This keeps Abrahams ahead, though, by a nose.
Both teams really smart on the macro, where I think Abrahams took a look at the map, realized they weren't going to be able to contest VP without it just being a huge loss in overall map presence. Decide, look, you guys are going for a walker, we're going to go for a walker. And at the end of it, both teams, even on objectives for the walkers and even on farm, but Listic right now doing a little bit of Gamba, but decides Yamato, not quite the place to be, but also doesn't want to stay there.
Yeah, doesn't want to fully commit. I think Shariq had the same idea. Even though he had that combo available, Listic probably wasn't feeling great without Seismic Slam, also without any of their damage dealers in position. Who was on his way there. And again, we're doing Zergy watch here midway through the game. He's up to 12k, so is able to pick up some farm. Those storm clouds have been good, and you see that last fight it nabbed together pretty much instantly. A decent catch here though. Yep, Frost Nova came out. ABL hit with a shoulder charge, trying to jump on away. Doesn't look like that majestic leap is at his disposal, and so it's just a free and easy clean pickup. Now eyes over towards the Guardian, but there's going to be a bit of an extended fight over it. As we saw Together jump on in a power slash trying to ward away VP. Looks like it's worked for now.
That was a really nice timing window to go for ABL. They were aware that Last Stand was about to come back up, and if you can jump on Warden without Last Stand, he is a different hero, so really well timed by Listic. And looking at that, and skirmishing still taking place here on the rooftops. Overkim real low. You see Sinclair in hot pursuit. Surely Overkim doesn't get away, but trying to be free all the while.
Still, has Saf overextended in order to do this? They do have, of course, an audience participation, so can be duplicating an ultimate. Maybe just sit up here as a shadow transformation comes in. That's scary, even for Listic. He's not quite healthy enough, and Seismic Slam will have to be used for him to get on out. VP do not want the smoke. ZP, they're not about it. Back behind their walker they go.
I think VP, I mean, they're still going to play cautious on the macro game right now, where you stop and think about how VP, like, generally plays. They are probably the least aggressive EU team at times, where their goal is to play smart Deadlock, and getting involved in what could have been just a very back-and-forth skirmish. Not great. Also, right now, I think they'd like to avoid a major team fight while ABL has Last Stand up, especially when all of Abrahams is grouped up. So, you know, both teams, I think at this point, very willing, or at least, very least from the VPN, very willing to just kind of wait until next urn comes out.
So, a lull on the action, and something we haven't really discussed is itemization. But I don't know that this new pause menu if it actually allows us to. I think it will actually if we get on some individuals here, because I do want to see like Dimov where that 13k souls is going, and also for Hoot here, you can see that Dimov has been studiously farming a lot of these neutral camps, which is exactly where we want to be. Sinners is up as well. can imagine that will be part of the rotation. Probably more likely that Hoot will try and pick that one up.
Also, prize pool. Got a bonus mid-game here. I don't think we caught. We're up to 800 total right now. So, you know, the community keeps on giving as we're just getting this EU best of 3 kicked off.
Yeah, we are obviously, geez, it's only 30 minutes into the game. There's been so much going on. Again, all of the Guardians for Virtus.pro are down. Abraham's only have the one left, and that's the thing that's currently under scrutiny. And I think once those go down, we're really starting to think about mid-boss here as we get, 12 to 18 minutes. That's obviously a real inflection point in this game. And Virtus.pro have been very selective about the fights they want to take. They really disengage where a lot of teams will sort of full commit and try their luck at this point. They are very conservative. They want a perfect setup. They want the Abrams to be able to initiate. They want Listic to be in the midst. They want Zergy to be able to Stormcloud. There's a lot of things that need to line up. But in the meantime, they've done a good job at evading capture by Abrahams, who are just chasing them across the map together here. Exhibit A.
I mean, you take a look. Things getting up close and personal right now on the right-hand side. Listic may have been caught out. The frozen shelter, leaving nowhere to go. Just caught in the freezer, a little bit fisticuffs, but not a battle you can win, but one you can at least make an impact on before you go down.
And again, it's not a fight that Virtus.pro can actually get involved in. They're trying to farm their own side of the map, right? They're trying to find their jungle, but that's obviously Abraham's not going to let them do that for free. They want to walk in, they want to challenge that. They also want to deny any comeback mechanic via the sort of 25% extra souls for the team that's lagging behind. So Abraham's have every reason to try and interfere with VP's attempts to farm. And yeah, here it is. I mentioned it. Mid-boss around 14 minutes, very reasonable. And VP have to figure it out. Obviously, who comes into this team as a substitute, not signed right now to VP with Michaelis departing. It definitely leaves a hole. But Abraham's here looks very, very clean.
Also, you gotta look for Hoot here. Look for the Affliction. Affliction is dropped. I'm not sure how many Hoot hit. I think Hoot may have only hit one. We'll see here in a moment, but it's enough to scare off Abraham's right now, not go for the full commit. They weren't really quite sure how deep VP was about to go in, but now Hoot in on the chase.
Okay, concussive combustion being used. ABL just trying to back it on up here as Hoot desperate to chase this one down. So ABL's been picked off. In the background, though, it was Overkim that was felled. Safta a little bit low and at risk of being stunned momentarily. May not be allowed to escape. Stunned up eventually, but Frozen Shelter gets thrown on down. Saint going to try and make sure Jamside stays in this fight. Heard a Shadow Transformation go down. There is Listic eventually falls. This is dangerous now as Together is out for blood. Big Storm Cloud, huge damage, but eventually it's going to be LOS here by the entirety of Abrahams who are on the chase. Jamside falls ultimately, but Hoot goes down. It's the trade up in terms of players for Abrahams. This Yamato, haven't been talking enough about Together. He's looking to get very, very dangerous now with still those sustain items being built, but their fortitude really gives you the sticking power in these fights. And Shadow Transformation lets you be a menace without damage items built.
That may have been one of the more even exchanges you could expect to see here. VP still going to have all 6 back up, and Abraham's side, they think they have the window to go for mid-boss. Meanwhile, on the other end, you look for VP. You got Sharik carrying the urn. We'll see how the contest is going to go here, Mitch. The Rejuvenator coming on down. It looks like it's going to be a party here in the mid.
Yeah, okay. Well, last stand used, and we'll have these Reju buffs hand over. Abrahams gets all of them. There was an urn turn in, though. In the meantime, Virtus.pro still trying to get something for their money. Saf here in danger. Was hit with the Affliction, who looks like he was able to scrabble away, but the entirety of Virtus.pro weren't in position to fight for this at all. And Jamside is looking to try and collect. That's right. And a 1v2 right now. Hit with a Frost over it. Forced to back on away. And it's Listic that's getting involved. Overkim waiting. Playing over the top of the fight with the barrels. VP down to obviously only 4 players. Now trying to fall back as Abrahams are still scary. And only one of those Rejuve credits was burnt. They're still in pole position.
Got a little bit of combo action now coming on in. Sharik with the pick, looking for ABL. However, may have been off more they can chew. The Frozen Shelter coming in from Saint to make it nice and clean for Abrahams. VP gonna lose Sharik in the process. Now, note they got the urn turn in here, Mitch, so on the overall economy, they're not too far down, but the goal has to be to defend the walkers.
Yeah, now, though, they are well behind in terms of stats, and those stats have an implied soul value. Okay, Together here. Going to be popped, brought back, soul revival, but now the Reju buff is gone. Saf has come back into the fight, but all of those credits have been spent. Together is down. Virtus.pro might see an option to come forward here, but Abrahams have already split and got it out of there. VP, amidst that fight, they get an urn turn in, keep the souls even, they knock all the Rejuve buffs off of Abrahams, and they come out 2 souls up. That's masterful.
It's rare to see. I think any other team in Deadlock, NA or EU, you put in that situation where that you lose mid-boss, you don't usually come out ahead. And it really was two things, is that, yes, they lost the mid boss, but they made sure to send Sharik to grab the urn, get the turn in, and basically equalize on souls from that, where they had a little bit of room to give up a kill or two and not fall significantly far behind. And you look at the state of the game, it is 2 walkers to 2 walkers. It is still remarkably even as we hit close to the 19-minute mark. So you think about last week, Mitch, where it was very much a shorter day. This one is going to go to distance, but remember how we set up the narrative at the beginning of the game. Going to distance may be problematic for VP, what the comp Abrahams have, but take a look at here together. A bit under pressure, have to get saved here by the Kelvin.
Bro, Saints
again.
That's crazy. Rescue Beam into Frozen Shelter, and now together has a chance to fight on his own terms. Shadow Form, Flying Strike hits Hoot, barely able to get away. Those power slashes converge so quickly when that Yamato ultimate is active. So great save, and they turn it into a kill assist. That is beautiful there from Saint. Taking lemons and turning it into, I don't know, some kind of frozen daiquiri. You know what I mean? The good kind. That is beautifully done. Now player advantage, and they can look to take away more of VP's jungle. There's nothing there.
Yeah, and right now, a little bit more of a source going in. A little bit of charge action from Listic, not going to connect. Meanwhile, Zergy still farming, picking up Boundless Spirit just to generally add to his damage. Mitch, this is wild. About to be 20 minutes, even as even gets right now between the both sides. But again, I just look at where Abrahams is team comp-wise. I think they like the action, but they don't like this.
Yeah, okay, Sharik trying to start the fight off. Nice combo on 2 together. They've gotten the Yamato out of the fight early. One of the most important targets. They've still got a fear, of course, that last stand out of the Warden, but it looks like Abrahams aren't in any position to really contest this. They can't actually fight for it. Buff's coming back in a few seconds, though, so that's definitely a neutral objective that VP want to try and collect on here. You can see they're already headed up to the high ground, and a survival buff on Listic is exactly where you want to be. There was a slick knife that came in, but again, I don't know if it's going to be more than a token attempt. Shoulder charge is going to give some distance for Listic. He has a Frost Nova if they try and dive on him. Not to mention, he would have been able to ult for safety, which he did. And so he gets away. He's an earn pickup, though. There's something in the air for this player. I do think VP is starting now to assert themselves.
VP been taking absolute care to get urn control ASAP. However, I don't think Abrahams is going to make this next urn fight easy on them. It's going to be in neutral territory. Getting the urn is definitely going to put you a bit ahead soul-wise here. And you take a look at the positioning that we're seeing come out. VP going over to the right side, but Abrahams, they are swarming on the right-hand side. They are ready to take this fight. However, it may be Sands and Furnace.
You mentioned, though, Virtus.pro's comp is very good at fighting for the urn, and it looks like Abrahams agree because they do not contest. They just back away. And now it's an 8k solely to VP, who have surely got to be behind in terms of kill count overall for this game. They have not been dominating when it's come to these all-in fights, but you see they found another way to get equity in this matchup, and together gets caught out a second consecutive time. Massive power play moment. Mid-boss still 2 minutes away, but I think we might be looking at a mid-walker and a catch potentially on Saf.
Yeah, they're looking for it right now. D-Mob in hot pursuit. Down into the subway we go. We'll see if they're able to get the pick off. Saint super low at the moment. And, you know, for Abrahams, these constant pickoffs on the together are really starting to hurt, where together falling behind where you need to be as the Yamato in this game. And for Abrahams, who does in theory have the better late game, that only applies if together is able to keep a similar level of farm. So the fact that together has been the, you know, target that keeps getting isolated by VP is giving VP more favorable options as the game goes on. And now, of course, still working with what is nearly a 15k lead.
Okay, for those at home as well, I've been referring to Cold Front as Frost Nova for the last 10 minutes. I correct myself there. That's the active ability with the radiating ring of frost that slows people down. We've seen it on Listic side of things. And there's one in D-Mob's inventory as well, alongside a Warp Stone. So making sure, of course, that D-Mob can get to his intended target and pummel them.
Phantom Strike coming online for Listic, so Listic's ability to engage going to be far better. And I feel like if you're Listic here, you would love to get the early engage on the ABL before last stand. And speaking of early engages right now, combo in the charge. This is brutal fisticuffs, Mitch, and a good pickoff that sets the way now for VP to try and go for a little bit more.
Oh yeah, they're going for more, 100%. I mean, the pickoff is set up by Listic. The guy's just a genius. And there's going to be a storm cloud in the middle of the map. It's ABL going down. Together still lurking in the wings, but Abrahams are down to 4 players. Surely, you've got to start pushing these objectives now. It's Sinner Sacrifice has been looked at. Those on Abraham's side of the map here. I think Sharik has gone and picked that up. Passed by the shop and got himself that Divine Barrier, which is obviously going to be pretty crucial in some of these hard engagements. But right now, VP don't have a whole lot to play for except a mid-boss in 4 seconds, and that's where they want to start things off.
Mid-boss is down. VP looking to take advantage of the 2 pickoffs. Does Abrahams want to go in? They can slow it down with the Frozen Shelter, but they're running out of time to get into the middle. We'll see. Do they dive on in? I think they're sliding down the staircase right now, Mitch, and it is happening. Let's see how it goes.
Okay, straight on the rejuve it goes. Frozen Shelter's going to lock it up for the time being, so that's a stalemate for now. On the outside, looking in at Virtus.pro, they are not inside that aura. And here it is, Bullet Dance from the high ground now. Drop down, Saint together, get one. Durgi's going to get the other. It's a clean split of rejuve bust, but Virtus.pro still have one to work with. Well, everyone's going to come back into the fight. Sap Jam side, Listic now return to the fray. Hoot also going to join them. Saint, though, is out of the fight. He cannot return. ABL's found Sharik. Cube had to be used there on Dimov now. It's getting hot and heavy in these close quarters, but together is eventually brought to heel. Shoulder charge came on in there. There was a Rabbit Hex even thrown into the fight as the chase is on for Jam side, but Dimov isn't quite healthy enough. Eventually, Taz and Listic go down. This is Abrahams and VP now with 2 and 3 players up respectively. It's a VP close edge out in this fight, and it's a soul lead that continues to increase. A very late last stand here for AVL with no real use case. Unfortunate. Both teams beat each other black and blue and head back for a breather.
I think one of the interesting parts about VP making the calculus to go mid is that they were aware that ABL was just slightly off the last stand. If Abrahams was actually able to go in and have last stand off cooldown, I think that ends up being a very different fight. So you kind of see there part of the decision making going, wait, your Warden doesn't have what is a key part of his existence? Yeah, we should probably go in and go for it. But still, the contest from Abrahams wasn't without merit. They're still able to steal 2 out of 3 Rejuvenators. They don't have to deal with VP pushing the advantage of the Rejuvenators. And overall, going into the fight, it was still about a 15k edge for VP at the time. It is still about a 15k edge now. So I think to an extent for Abrahams, that's about as successful as a contest that you're going to get.
Very cheeky from Saf. Earn pick up there, almost interrupted, but of course the turn-in is across the map in approximately neutral territory. So it is going to be the next staging ground for an encounter between these 2 teams. Again, these walkers need looking at if you're Virtus.pro, because you still have 2 up, as do Abrahams. That's another sort of source of souls here. And that Earn definitely will be looked at very closely as Virtus.pro converging on that left side of mid, whilst Abrahams making sure they can defend this walker. Now in the hands of the Yamato together, trying to ferry it across the map.
Next Earn, of course, if Abrahams is able to get the Earn in, that would essentially erase the soul deficit that you are now dealing with. But you take a look at how VP's positioning. They're trying to get a favorable pickoff before it gets to a full team fight. I actually think if it goes to a full team fight, there's a few ways it breaks down that could be really good for Abrahams, not the least of which is that you still have Kelvin. You can still drop a shelter and use that to help secure the turn-in. But right now, VP, they are very much swarmed over the turn-in. So Abrahams, they have Earn control. They're taking their time in this instance because they're at that point in Deadlock now where they can still fight evenly, but if they lose another fight, decisively, they won't be able to, and a little bit of pressure coming in mid.
Now Abrahams are playing a cat and mouse about it. Step forward here with a concussive combustion from Jamside, who's almost at 30k souls. And looks like Obicum got a little bit too close to the sun. Last stand also there, thrown in by that fight, and Virtus.pro might feel like they can still fight this. Frozen Shelter comes down instantly, and the Shadow Transformation looks a little silly in the context of that Kelvin ultimate. Eventually, Together's going to be able to break out, actually start this fight. Dash in on towards Listic, decent damage, caught by the Spirit Lasso, or was the combo? Unclear, lockdown for a time, and here it comes, the Yamato, with plenty of souls to their name. It's a sting of beauty. Jamside finds yet another kill in this fight, and Zergi's going to back away. It looks like there was never a good chance to make use of Storm Cloud, and no real fight to be had here for VP. They're down 2 players, and that Earn is looking dangerous. Hoot is actually able to turn it in, though. So behind this, VP still keep themselves head above water in terms of that soul economy. And Jamside will reposition. Now, Abrahams know they need to pressure this mid-walk and try and get something for that Earn.
It's kind of tragic for Abrahams. They have an incredible team fight, in large part backed up by Saint just arguably being the GOAT to Kelvin. Yeah, we may have just added the GOAT character, literally, but when you talk about Kelvin players, Saint has to be your number 1. Just great rescue beams, Frozen Shelter to keep people alive, Listic getting picked off now in middle. But VP, they turn what was a losing fight into advantage because the urn is actually a greater aggregate hit. So they come out ahead on the macro here, Mitch.
They just had to defend this mid walker. Now they're also suffering that pressure on the left side lane, and all of this sort of left side jungle for VP would be vulnerable. And that's what Abrahams are looking to come in and clear right now. It'll be Hoot just a sort of singularly roaming, maybe shoving back out in mid, but yeah, 4 players here for Virtus.pro. The entirety of Abrahams, though, ready to fight for this walker. Is about to get hot and heavy yet again. Zergy looking for pressure really wherever it can be manufactured now, diving back under that walker for a little bit of safety. With the frozen shelter, a chance for VP to take a breather. Sharik very, very low, got dragged out of that one, and unfortunately could not quite escape. Looks like Saf drew him in, maybe with a magic lasso. It's unclear. Big power slash there from Together. This is a problem. Every time you let the Yamato have a long fight, get that shadow transformation off, you don't have enough time to respond to the power slash. And that Affliction, of course, drop jam side down to 1. It can't drop you any lower than that on its own. So he'll get out for free. Virtus.pro again suffer a 0 for 2 result. Big storm cloud. Zergy trying to make the play. Saint gets caught out. Maybe just couldn't quite escape from the damage. And that's something at least for VP to work with. They want to keep chasing this ZP.
VP would love to turn this into advantage, especially when you take a look. Minboss is back up in 15 seconds. If they can get another pick on the Abrahams, they could actually force Minboss. However, you take a look at where people are at, it's going more into, okay, reverse course and farm. So all in all, another team fight where VP, they don't give up their overall lead. However, I am a little bit worried in some of the trends that are coming out here. We're getting late enough into the game that Together is getting more done, and they actually... VP, they decide we may be down 2 people right now, but you're down your Kelvin for an even longer period of time. We could theoretically go for Minboss and not have to deal with Saint. However, they're going to get messed with on the outskirts here by Abrahams. I don't know if it's that clean, but they're trying to go for it regardless.
All right. I'm looking for something there. You could see with Saint off the map, Abraham's probably feeling a little bit more vulnerable.
Yeah.
Saf was able to get out, though, so no harm, no foul. And another survival buff going over towards Listic. So again, going to be pretty bloody hard to kill. We mentioned it earlier on, but those Phantom Strikes are in hand for many of our tankier characters here. And I'm seeing some pretty terrifying items make their way into the inventory for our 7. Leech has been picked up there. We see Boundless Spirit, Mercurial Magnum in the hands of AVL. Starting to track now as the urn will spawn in Abraham's territory, but VP are going to step up and try and fight them right there.
All ultimates just about up on both sides. Zergy about to get the Stormcloud back up, so all teams essentially at max battle power. The problem, of course, the urn being enemy territory, but here we go. Lasso in from Obakim. Is it going to be enough to take down Sinclair?
Oh, the combo trade is huge. Oh, it's massive. That's exactly what they were looking for, ZP. Now, of course, mid-boss becomes so much more viable.
Yeah, it was a simple, quick hit. Abraham's a little bit out of position. You lose both your Kelvin and your Sinclair. 2 of the most important heroes, by the way, at contesting mid-boss between the Rabbit Hex and the Frozen Shelter.
Oh, they're coming.
And wait, if they're coming 4v6, this is ridiculous. Do they actually commit and drop on down? We'll have to see.
Last stand coming in straight away from ABL. They've got to try and control him. And again, he gets CC'd out of it. Great goo ball used there from Dimov. Knows what he's going to do. And again, we split the Reju buffs 2 and 2. The Storm Cloud in this pit is a terrifying prospect, and all of Abrahams have to split pretty damn quick. Together, not quite fast enough, though. They'll be taken down. No Reju buffs left here on Abrahams, whereas Virtus.pro have a clean sheet. What a fight from VP. They start off that mid-boss, and of course, it's a player advantage. Split Reju buffs, but they still got 2 to work with, and man, now they're off to the races.
Man, I know ABL is pretty well on farm this game, but there is a limit. I don't know if going in for the mid-boss contest was the right idea. Being down 1 player, if it's just your Sinclair or your Kelvin, is a rough prospect. Being down both and still going for the fight, that may qualify to some people as insanity, but now you take a look at the game state. VP, they're going to be able to convert this into remaining structures here. There's 1 walker, and you have to think they're just going to go to the other side, pick up one of the last walkers here in the game, and really secure their advantage.
Yeah, look, crucially, 1 more walker and also 1 pair of base guardians will give you that extra inventory slot. So quickly, you snatched up a couple of those base guardians and you're good to go. Eyes over here, of course, and there's an urn turn in by the Abraham's walker. So everything now is falling in place for Virtus.pro. Walker down, an easy urn turn in, something that Abraham still can't hope to contest because they're 3 players down for the time being. It should be a very, very difficult for them to sort of bounce back from.
So overall, we've now hit the point where coming back from this, easier said than done. Abraham's not really willing to go for the earned contest. And whatever advantage you may think Abraham's may have had lineup-wise, in regards to their composition, is more than outweighed by the extra stats that VP is working with. Even still, two rejuvenators. He's rich.
What?
He's the 1% right now. Zergy has just gotten far ahead, and you know, the item buys coming on in.
Oh my god. Yeah, also Crushing Fists picked up for 2 of Virtus.pro, Listic and Dimov. Obviously, Dimov wants them because Puddle Punch scales off that heavy melee, but yeah, okay. Listic even getting involved in that. VP are knocking on the doors, EP. Can hear the bell starting to toll. Also, that one pair of base guardians down. Full infantry access for Virtus.pro, having taken that third walker and a base guardian pair, but it's still dangerous. Abrahams are still fighting fit. They still got Shadow Transformation and Last Stand at the ready. Also Frozen Shelter to make things a little awkward if Virtus.pro were to overcommit. So they'll take it piecemeal. Little by little, make their way in as a couple of those barrage hits went on to Satan. Okay, clearly they want to go for this one. Zergy out of the satchel. Shrine's being cleared up here. Looks like both are about to go down. Now it's time for Patron. Stormcloud in the middle. Might have been a knockdown there to interrupt it. Unclear. Virtus.pro taking a beat here and stepping back.
There's a short storm, but VP, they are still going to play this methodically. They're looking not to make any mistake possible. Hoop, though, up, over, drop the frogs, drop the affliction, and you see the health melting away. Hoop being his own follow-through here, Mitch. As now, as you say, the bells, you can definitely hear them. Abrahams running into what is their final opportunity to try and defend. VP showing no mercy.
I mean, the Spirit Burn is so good, by the way, on that pocket as well. Arctic Blast, and no one is going to be escaping. Virtus.pro, I mean, really, this game should be studied as a great example of macro beating micro every single time, or at least when it really counts. Very, very impressed with what Virtus.pro have been able to create here with Abraham, such a talented group of Deadlock players, just getting out-edged in every little scenario where VP could extract value. They always seem to trade upwards. Tough to beat a team like this, I'll be honest. Dimov getting brought back in the fight. That was the last of the rejuve credits, but that is an incredible first game of this series. A 35-minute slobber knocker sees Virtus.pro take the first in this best of 3.
VP getting the job done. ZP, I know you were smiling in the second half of that game, but Abrahams had the early edge. At least that's what it looked like to the new guy. Where did that game flip? Where did VP turn it back on their side of things?
I mean, it was bit by bit where it was just these small pickoffs that were just converted into bigger advantages. And even when, I think the key for VP, which it sounds like a weird thing to say, even when VP loses, when they're playing at peak, they lose well. There were team fights where the best example would probably be the team fight where they lost 2 people. Saints had incredible Kelvin play to really put Abrahams on top, but Hoot had the presence of mind to go, actually that urn, I'm gonna grab it and I'm just gonna abandon this team fight, turn in the urn, and VP actually ends up ahead despite the actual micro gameplay that Abrahams was able to put down. And also the micro gameplay for VP and other points is still ridiculous. I'm not quite sure who had the knockdown that ruined ABL's life in that final definitive mid-boss fight when they tried the 4v6, but yeah, that's one of the most well-timed knockdowns I've seen in my life. So VP, they're just so hard to put down because even when you beat them, they don't get knocked out.
We're over 1,700 viewers on Twitch. The YouTube channel keeps growing as well. Remember, hit that follow, hit that subscribe. We got a brand new channel, and this is just episode 2. Taking a look. The early magician work. We thought Abrahams were off to a fantastic league. Zergy showcasing what he did in the first game against our challengers, Lotus. It continued here. Mitch, is he your MVP? Who was the fastest, the best performer on the Virtus team?
Honestly, that's a tough one to call because no one on Virtus.pro was really excited me much in that early part of the game. I think Listic was pretty instrumental in a lot of those early pickoffs that occurred across the map. You know, just setting up like picks on the Yamato especially. This was a nice looks here. This is a good example where Saf just got wombo combo. Not much you can do about that. Magic Lasso into combo is almost always going to guarantee you the kill.
Okay, here you go, ZP.
Break it down.
Take a look here, final team fight, and then look at ABL, comes on in, about to do last stand, and the knockdown just crushes what he was looking for there, and it's brutal. It's absolutely
and then
brutal.
The Stormcloud just fries them, bro. Yeah. Zergy's at 44k by that point, man, and Together is never escaping that. And that's something that ZP, like, heads up from ZP at the start or in the draft, he said Virtus.pro are going to fight very well for urns. Now, they didn't have to a lot of the time because Hoot was actually stealing them in the backside of the fights. But when it came to fighting in those locales, Virtus.pro had an insanely effective comp. That AoE wombo is really terrifying, but crucially, they targeted the wombo combo, that AoE effect of the on the Abraham side. They went after the Warden and made sure that Last Stand couldn't be effective, which is really important.
ZP, can you break it down? I got some friends here from the Esports World Cup that I've met across multiple different titles tuning into Deadlock for the first time. They're enjoying it, but what the hell is an urn? We didn't see it always on screen. Why were they more impactful towards the end of the game?
So the urn is basically one of the two main objectives in Deadlock that teams fight for to get an advantage. Like, you got to make the teams move around so you don't just sit in lane the entire way. And the urn just gives you a massive boost of souls to your entire team and an extra special bonus to the player that turns it in. They get an extra ability point and they get 25% bonus on top. So when you're in an even game, if you give up urns repeatedly, the other team is going to get ahead of you unless you're, making up in other ways by taking objectives like walkers or just getting more of their jungle. So generally speaking, the urn is something teams are going to fight for. And in this case, VP created a composition, particularly with the Viscus, who's so good at denying and controlling space around the urn, that made it so they had an edge in these urn fights. And it put Abraham's in a spot, whereas, Mitch pointed out, they didn't even try to contest the urn several times because they realized it would be a losing proposition.
Yeah, also like the spawn locations are really important. The urn always spawns in like a neutral location, but like if you're behind, the turn-in will be on your side of the map. So it gives incentive for teams that are ahead to just like hang out in the enemy jungle, clear it all, and then create like a danger zone there for the team that are trailing behind. It's all part of like the choking your opponent out strategy.
Hoot was running it up on the scoreboard. Did he earn your MVP as the villain gets the job done in our first of the championship match? Zergy's got the prettiest numbers. I loved what we saw from Hoot. Dimov on the blob. Viscus doing work. What do we love, Mitch?
I mean, again, I think like Zergy's farm was really impactful. Zergy absolutely did his job. And he tends to like to play these carries that really scale very heavily into that late game. And so, yeah, most of his diet comes from those neutral troopers. He's the one that's benefiting from Virtus.pro playing such an elegant macro game. And I think the people that put the macro game together were Listic and Hoot. Hoot, fantastic job. Virtus.pro understand that even if they lose out on objectives like walkers, they can still get equity in terms of those souls and come back in. And can I just say, for someone who's just joined the team and coming in as a sub, to be such an important part of the engine room here in Virtus.pro is really impressive. The guy looks like he's fitting like a glove. Really, really, pleased to see him so effective because also he's got massive damage. So yeah, he's away from the fight sometimes, but when he's there, he makes his presence well and truly felt.
Game on, ZP. Who are you awarding the ZP award?
It's still got to be Dimov. I think what Dimov is doing on Viscus is ridiculous, both in terms of how the actual fights around things like Urn were taking place. You look at the actual damage stats where, Pocket is going to put out ridiculous damage numbers, especially if you're landing good afflictions. But overall, Viscus is working for that a little bit harder and still put up ridiculous numbers while getting good saves, while being instrumental in rotating around the map. And you look at how VP valued it. VP actually picked Viscus second in the draft. They went out of their way to say, actually, we think this is important. And in a game where you had multiple heroes that you could put Dimov on, like, again, normally you would put Dimov on something like the Holiday. They decide, no, Dimov, we are keeping you in the goo ball. So when I think about things you may see in the next game, if you're Abrahams, I think you got to manipulate the draft to either take the Viscus or ban it away, because based on what VP has shown here today, they will put Dimov on it once again.
It's a go-to. That and the 7 locked in both times. Billy's side is going to be my player to watch. I love the Inferno. Any other heroes or characters that we should look out for going into the next game from the Abraham side of things, boys?
I want to see if they attempt to, contest that paradox now. That was like a ban out from Virtus.pro who deferred their ban, which is obviously kind of an odd decision. So Abraham still get to pick first. And honestly, this is probably one of the most frustrating situations to try and work your way out of as a team who just lost that map, because you didn't do a whole lot wrong in the early stages of the game. I really do think that Virtus.pro, I don't think they capitalized on Abraham's mistakes. I think they just made their own opportunities and were just so good at staying even in the game, even when they were getting clowned on in straight 6v6s. It's really frustrating to try and game plan a way to stop that. What are you gonna do? Just try and draft a comp that has a really good way of fighting those neutral objectives, get a pocket with superior duration and majestic leap. I don't know what the plan has to be, but I would probably just tell them to hit the showers, cool off, and then just run it back. Nothing big to change.
ZP, as we take a look at some of the big donors, I wanted to ask you about Hayes. Is Hayes still a carry in Deadlock? When I was doing the research, there's a lot of Hayes guides. Shout out to the $25 donation, by the way. We're now at 825. Jax Libido, number 2 to Wick, who dropped the big 300 bomb. I'm in bronze. Catch up, chat. Where you at? Shout out to Ropes on Fire, Sergeant Miles, Segbench, and some of our anonymous donors, as well as Ozzy808 with the $50. Every dollar going to the players up until 2K here for episode number 2.
Oh, it's Bench. That's a longtime esports agent. Reps a bunch of players across different games. I see you, Bench. And where that says, like, wait, Segbench, I know that name. But yeah, in terms of your question on the Hayes is kind of interesting, where Hayes has kind of carved out more of a niche in the comp level of sort of being a mid-game specialist, where she's not necessarily going to dominate her game or her lane in the first 10 minutes, and she's not necessarily taking over the game in the way that something like a Yamato would in the late game. But her ability to just stealth around the map, create opportunities with Sleep Dart, means that teams at times will be okay running a Hayes in lieu of something like a Holiday or a Paradox, because Hayes herself can create opportunities for your team to get pickoffs, and she feels particularly oppressive in the mid game, where you get more roaming than any other stage in the game.
And just to add on to that as well, like, she has an ability fixation, which means the longer she's shooting a singular target, the more damage that she's doing to that target. So she wants to catch people out and focus on individuals. She's not a shock and awe wombo combo hero, despite, you know, Bullet Dance having that feel.
Bam. ZP, we're going into a game number 2. Do we do breaks here on Night Shift?
You know, historically, we do a break between map 1 and map 2, well, any map really, of the best of 3. So you can throw it a break, and we'll be back when the draft is ready, because I believe they're still drafting.
Solomon, we'll be right back.
What do you think are the biggest edges that even the best teams just across both regions aren't getting right now? Like, what's the next what's the next thing to focus on? Like, what aren't teams doing perfectly that you can see right now?
In my opinion, I think the game is. Oh, I gotta sit up straight for this one. I think the game in general right now is pretty solved, at least from the EU side. And I think NA, like Hydronation, at least like our team, we've come to kind of like mimic and solve it as well. But the difficulty of playing the game correctly comes in when you
Major shout out to AVG coming on the latest episode of Night Shift. That was the Graveyard Shift, where we hang out with our Patreon. ZP, for those who couldn't read that quick screen, what is our Patreon? How do we get involved?
Yeah, I mean, Patreon is Patreon Deadlock Night Shift, and right now we just started it to give away for the community to show some support if they would like. And one of the quick perks that we've put up here is the Graveyard Shift. It is a post-show after the main broadcast finishes. It's some of our broadcast talent and a player, and it's very casual. It's not by the books interview. We're just chatting the day, the scene, whatever. And our very first episode of the Graveyard Shift, we're just kicking back with AVG, getting some insight in the, how AVG has approached Deadlock, how are things now on Hydronation, and just stuff in general. It's a good time.
Bringing you closer to the gamers than ever. It's the Night Shift. We are in the second shift here for Uber Shouts and ZP. We already saw the Challengers match, and Virtus.pro won that thing too. I didn't think they were winning game 1. The chat didn't think they were winning game 1. They ended up winning game 1, but now the Abrahams are going to force a game 3. That's how the script goes, right, Uber?
Yeah. Absolutely. This one needs to go to 3. I think Abrahams are not going to give Virtus.pro the room to work the map if they get ahead in lane. And for VP, they just need to not fall behind, I think, and they're going to be in great shape. Straight away, Paradox ban, off the rip. Don't want to see it a second time.
If I'm Abrahams, you ban the goo ball. That's what you got to do.
Viscous, get the snot out. Just take care of business right here. Don't be afraid.
You don't want to target Vindicta at this early stage. Curious.
Down to my training.
Oh. I think what you see here when they ban Warden, Abraham still decides we don't want to deal with it. We know VP, we've given you first pick. They may change things up, by the way, or Abraham says, yeah, we actually want second pick this time around. Of course, VP chose second previously. So VP, they get a premium pick here. They can put it onto the Vindicta, but they'll be giving up things like Yamato and to the other side and the Viscous, should Abraham's pick it. But instead, they first pick the Viscous. Genius. See the importance.
I mean, again, I think it's pretty crucial. I like the build that we're seeing from VP side, the Crushing Fists. Also, like, low-key, good Viscuses just get an absurd amount of damage over the course of the game. You have no idea how they're able to do that. And it also forms part of a really annoying lane. If Virtus.pro don't want to fall behind early, I like the idea of trying to secure the Viscous and have great harass potential, but they're going to have to give up the Abrams to have it.
Are we impressed here that the Abrams didn't go back to Virtus.pro? They're mixing things up, it looks like.
I think when you look at for Abrahams, Together is shifting things up a little bit relative to what he used to be. He used to be kind of a Shiv 1 trick, not because he couldn't play other things, but that's just how he was in the previous metas. But now he really does like playing Abrams, played it last week, is going to be able to play it here again, and they're going to pair it with the Vindicta, which despite it underperforming in our first match of the day, it is objectively one of the best lanes in the game. If you're VP, I think in response here, the one thing you do need to do, I do think you need to take away the Yamato because Abrahams has two very strong Yamato players. That even if Together isn't playing the Yamato, they can have ABL play the Yamato. I think leaving it up may be a risk, but VP, they decide, Zergy, we like how you began farm the entire time. Take the 7 once more.
High priority on the 7. I mean, it's really interesting to see it so like deep into the draft because Zergy can also play Infernus quite well. I think that like there's a difference between having a sick ultimate that zaps people to death and having to like actively work your way through a fight, stay alive, not get CC'd, build very tanky. So it can be tough. We've seen 7 builds also like look a little tankier, but Hoot for Pocket rather for Hoot again potentially means that Virtus.pro always going to have this loose end roaming capacity.
It looks like they're just getting their same squad as last game. ZP, while we're waiting on more of these picks to come in, real quick, the Patreon, does that go to the prize pool? How does our Patreon work and our donations towards the prizes each shift work?
So the donations directly on stream that show up right now go directly to the prize pool. The Patreon goes the general show overall. So production, casters, again, it all
we
out.
pay the people.
Yes.
Yeah.
Genius. Shouts to Ray Jecki. I haven't seen Puckett since Halo 3. Brother, that was 15 plus years ago. That's been a minute. This is my first time working on Deadlock, and I'm loving it so far. I'm picking up who's pretty powerful and who's really good in Europe. And it seems that when it comes to just mechanical skill, is this an even matchup?
You got my hopes up.
VP just has the better macro. Is that what we witnessed in game number 1? How would you
I think that like Abraham's like won some lanes that they maybe even shouldn't have been able to snowball as well as they did. I would even say they were mechanically or just in that early phase of the game were better. That's what got them ahead, and VPs were able to wrest the game back. If I'm Abraham's, I'm molding about that. It shouldn't happen, but that's kind of what makes this matchup so sick, is that these teams are strongest in different phases of the game.
And as we see the Kelvin get locked in, you guys mentioned you don't want to see the Yamato go to the Abrahams. That'll be too powerful. Well, Kelvin didn't seem to have that huge of an impact. Lots of healing compared to the rest of the characters, but is it better to have someone focused on heals over just 6 players dealing damage?
When it's Saint, I think so. I actually think when you talk about mid-stage bans for VP, yeah, they took out the Holiday probably because they're not intending to play it with their comp. They're going to go for the Mo and Krill and Viscous being active. I actually think Abraham's looks significantly worse in terms of their team fighting when you rip the Kelvin away from Saint. Saint is a good player. He's not like bad if he's not in the Kelvin, but the Kelvin is probably the one pick that you almost see Abraham's never play without. So the fact that they're able to lock it in, I think is good for them. And, you know, VP draft-wise, maybe they should have tried to take it away.
Boom.
Okay. I really like this Ivy pick. It makes for strong lanes, is great sustain. And also like has like omnipresence across the map because your ultimate makes you just fly. Really, really good. I think it's kind of insane with Pocket and 7. Like again, Virtus.pro investing in like being very good in a local area, fighting for those objectives, which is if we recall how they got back into the game. So, you know, I don't know to what degree they're sort of sacking their lane matchups, but you have like Abrams Vindicta. VP had to take Mo and Krill away from Abrahams. You can't give them the Mo and Krill Vindicta lane. I do think Abrahams are a little scary. again in that early phase of the game. I don't want to deal
Here
with them.
she is, chat. You've been waiting for the lady, guys. She's arrived.
Bro.
Yeah. Actually, we haven't talked too much about it, but Geist was pretty highly picked last week and was the top pick in the meta before. It's a little bit weird that Geist has been a bit undervalued today, but I think this is really good for Abrams. I mean, they have a ridiculous front line. They have a clear funnel target in the Infernus into the late game. And yeah, okay, VP picking up the Mina is a bit of a wild card, but on paper, when I look at the compositions, the Abrahams early laning is going to be out of this world. You stack one lane with Abrams Vindicta. You stack another lane with Yamato Geist. And I mean, Kelvin is no slouch with Infernus. Yeah.
It's busted.
Nice. Yeah.
It's busted. It's a very, very three powerful lanes. Oy, oy. Whereas Virtus.pro, not so much off the rip, right? Like Mon Cruel before he gets ultimate. 7 also takes some time to build up. Pocket conditioning can be quite strong, but like again, really very much a get in, get out type of hero. I think we're still waiting to see like where the consensus is on Mina. I think maybe if you invest, like I don't know if you invest AP into Love Bites, maybe you are a bit of a nuisance here. But yeah, Virtus.pro can work the map. Wow, I don't like their laning.
Sorry, Chad. I was told the players will not start the game until we get another $25 donation to get us up to $850 here on Night Shift Round 2. I'm just the general manager. I don't make the laws. I just enforce them. ZP, as we get into this, true or false, Virtus.pro had the better pick and ban selection.
I'd say false right now from looking. I mean, I think what VP is doing can work. They do have options, and that Viscous is still like the ultimate fixer. Ivy does give you extra mobility around the map. Like maybe Abraham should have won something like a Mirage at the very end, arguably. But I do think on paper, from what we know about Deadlock, I think Abraham's knocked this draft out of the park. I think VP may be fighting a little bit uphill this time around.
If you like vampires, donate $25. It'll go directly to Listic if he wins this matchup. They are playing for half the lion's share here as we split it between EU and NA, and we are not even halfway through the show. And Mitch doesn't think halfway through this series. We're going to a game 3, but if that's true, the Abrahams got to clutch up right now. On the mic, it's Uber Shouts and ZP, the guy from Minnesota who has goats.
You have goats, ZP?
It may. I can't confirm or deny.
I think I just heard him in the background.
Yeah,
you live in the house.
Look, Puckett, or rather, Mitch. I do have a confession. You know that me and Jason played, or rather, casted the very first game of goats in Overwatch. Like we were at ground zero before it spread.
It was your fucking fault.
Yeah. Yeah, that explains like your consummate levels of mental stability between the two of you.
Yeah,
I'm very.
Works out.
Yep. You guys have done well. You've seen it all. You're the gif of that guy who looks like he's PTSD ridden from war. Now let's jump into the game. So we have the Kelvin Infernus side lane here. We have Yamato Geist in the mid, and yeah, Abrams Vindicta here for Abrahams. A very nice looking draft. So we issue the challenge to Virtus.pro to sort of fight their way out of this one. And again, we've noticed in this game, even strong lanes can lose out. The problem is that I think it was VP that had strong lanes in that challenges game and still lost them. So no shortage of talent out here in EU. No guarantee the strong lanes, as I use air quotes, are going to win out, but keep an eye on those hotspots across the map.
I mean, Abrams have definitely positioned lanes a little bit more traditionally. You put Abrams Vindicta in the side lane. Middle was kind of a choice by VP that was... I mean, there's no reason why it couldn't have worked, but it usually wasn't where you saw the lane got played. Meanwhile, in the middle, to no one's surprise, you stack it with your Geist and Yamato, which just gives you really high poking. And I mean, it's usually where you see Yamato get placed anyways, the way teams have been kind of organizing lanes. And then Infernus Kelvin, the goal there isn't necessarily lane domination, but it's also a difficult lane to actually lose. Like pinning down Infernus Kelvin and making them have a bad lane is difficult. So, for VP, the question here is, where do they get ahead in the first 10 minutes? And I think to an extent, you have to hope that there's some misplays out of Abrahams.
Yeah, I mean, and in that previous game, I don't think that they left any huge gaping, orifices which to sort of, exploit. I think that Abrahams actually were fairly clean, just kind of got out-rotated, out-maneuvered by Virtus.pro. So will those unforced errors crop up at this level between the two best teams right now in Europe? Seems, questionable, bordering on unlikely. Someone in the chat said that Mina was not a Listic hero. Fair enough, I can kind of see that idea, but clearly they've taken a shine to young Mina, who, again, more of those Love Bites triggers that you get, the more bats you get from your Nox Nostra. So A lot of value in trying to hit those rakes, get that gun damage in, but you can see just how scary this Infernus Kelvin lane is.
Look, people forget some of Listic's weird, phases in life. We had a period where Listic was playing Grey Talon every week for a while and was off frontliner characters. So, like, Listic has done a little bit of freelancing and experimenting with what the Listic hero pool is, even though overall the course of Deadlock, usually Listic is, up close and personal. So I'm not surprised to see Listic come in here on the Mina, but we'll see if it's effective on the same note, because, right now, despite how we said the opening, even on the aggregate right now between both teams and also Guardians-wise, a little bit even, though the middle is, kind of expectedly started to take some damage from the Amato Geist pressure.
Yeah, you see that lanes are pushing, though, in Abraham's direction towards VP, right? So they are using just their strong lane pairs to shove up and put pressure on. Virtus.pro, though, was still, taking those soul orbs really effectively. I can't believe that rake hit on Gemside. That is wild. He's able to back away. But again, VP are doing well farming under pressure is what I'm trying to get at. Obicum eventually, though, has to succumb, and there is going to be some bleed here for Virtus.pro in some of these lanes. It's kind of tough. We did mention that Ivy can make for a pretty robust lane, but up against, some of these assignments here, they've been the Geist and Yamato lane is really hard for anyone to succeed in.
It's definitely difficult. I mean, slight opportunity here. Maybe the chase down the guy's super low HP. Needs to land a pummel punch. So low here, Mitch, and yet life drained towards the very end. Healing right. Not enough to save Saf, but it comes at a cost. It might have baited Viscous to death.
Yeah, and again, Obicum is trying to fight now into a shadow transformation, so can't take this fight. Oh, what a flying strike there from ABL. Feels like they get hit more often than not by these top players, and now Obicum needs to get away. Find a way to escape, because ABL is not about to give him any room at all. Nice bit of movement tech here. Crimson Slash did catch on. Power Slash would do it, and so it has to be a Stone Idol to avoid that burst damage. He gets away. Nox Nostra here. Popped on the right-hand side of the map. Decent damage being put down, but again, Listic needs some backup. Forces Sanguine retreat out. Sharik eventually tears Saint down. And for some reason, Saf just cannot get any shots on towards Listic here.
Something to note here is that middle guardian went down. Wait, we got compo. Bo on the edge, 100 HP. And first decides, no, I'm gonna burn you down.
What's the reprisal going to look like, though? I think, it's the Mina that will come to call, but Jamside, such as his mobility, should be able to get on out of here. Hoot goes down. That's Taz finding that pick. Money going over to the pockets of Abrahams now, as there is still going to be more of a fight on this left side. Yep, we stick together here. Healthy enough. The seismic slam, though, for safety's sake, as it looks like Dimov was breathing down his neck.
Interesting. When you look at the setup here, now you have more room to roam from middle because Abrahams was able to get the middle guardian down with that pressure. But even still, Dimov taking the opportunity to maybe go to the left and right and go, we'll just let Ivy solo this for a bit. But we'll see what Abraham's able to do to take advantage of what they've been able to do from middle here so far.
All right, Siphon Life active, but yeah, a lot of that 7 damage. A little bit difficult to stave off here. Zergy playing from a relatively safe port. They still got to respect what Taz can do. Yeah, still took the assassination shot. Drops Zergy low. Putting the fear of God in him. Healing right though in the back pocket, so he will be able to get about 20%, 25% of his health back. You've got to respect, though, what Taz can do at these longer ranges.
Also, look at the overload that's been going on right. Abrahams decided they wanted to bring the Geist over to the right, do the 3-on-2. They gave up the middle guardian essentially for it because they're trying to overbalance the right-hand side. But VP's actually been doing a reasonable job. It's been Listic with Sharik just holding back the 3-on-2 pressure, but there is a limit. We'll see how long they can hold, but the frozen shelter comes on Image, saves the guys.
That is a huge moment here, and all Abrahams are going to make this very punishing. I think they're going to be looking at this Guardian. Now, on both sides of the map, though, we have pressure in opposite directions towards those Guardians. Tass down here, but you can see that VP Guardian on the right is probably going to fall here. It looks like they're trying to throw their Mina in front of it. Listic there. A Saint gets clapped on. A quick respawn back in from Sharik with a zipline boost to try and stop it on the right, but it doesn't seem to be the case. And now Shadow Transformation pop. There's more fight to be had here. Zerga was never getting away from that one. Nice flying slash collection, and Dimov is forced to hot-footed out of there if he possibly can. Look at these right clicks coming in from ABL, though, continuing to harass. But Dimov will walk free.
ABL's accuracy on Yamato is ridiculous. Now, note, VP just pick up another Guardian there. VP actually ahead overall in the macro, despite some of these micro fights looking more Abrahams tilted. Jamside right now, 200 HP, bit under pressure from Listic. However, the rotation over end, Listic having to try and Sanguine retreat out, and Saints just going to be able to get it.
All right, so as the dust starts to settle, Virtus.pro again have been able to eke out incremental advantage over a number of these engagements. It's not a terrible amount of souls to have in the lead here. Sharik able to get away from that somehow. Life Cypher not able to finish off the job. Saf though hit hard with that stone idol, and again thought to overextend a little bit more into picking up that elimination on Sharik. It's not to be. So that's another freebie for Virtus.pro.
I think the one thing you have to start worrying about here for VP, even though it's super early in the game, we haven't even had first earn come on down, but ABL having a good start to the game is scary. I still put ABL as the best Yamato player on Abraham's, and it's just going to be a very different world relative to the last game if you have a Yamato ahead of things right now. So, you know, as things have rotated and things have gotten a little bit more scrappy, at some point you need to make sure ABL takes a dive if you're VP. You cannot let him continue to get ahead of the game.
Of course, Jamside wants to stay on this side of the map now, especially with Guardian down. Spends the time in the jungle if at all possible. There's ABL looking to try and chase Sharik down, but Sharik is disinclined to acquiesce to such a request, and he will continue to burrow his way out of this engagement. This is action in mid. So Sharik, the only player for VP who right now is able to sort of push these waves back, but also Abraham's leaning into the left side of the map. I think this little Hoot Dimov combo here in that mid-side jungle is interesting because Abraham so far have not run across it or not opted to try and challenge them, and now they might get crunched in mid. This is dangerous because Sharik still had that combo available. Saf just blown to smithereens there, not even a moment to fight with. And now more map control for VP in the mid. This is drawing the Abrams of together across now to see what he can do, but I'm not sure if there's an opportunity here.
Seeing a little bit of the escape power of Mina here as Listic using both ends of the Sanguine retreat to just fully get away from what could have been Deadly Infernus pursuit. But yeah, VP taking their moment to go, okay, we have a little bit of room here in middle. We already got your middle Guardian down. You're probably in the jungle. Let's say hi and see how it's going on. So well-timed invade. And speaking of pressure right now, you got Hoot in Abraham's territory. A little bit of pressure onto Taz. And for now, looks like maybe a reset back to normal. But look underneath, you still got Sharik. The invade from VP continues.
And he's still here with a combo. I think that was an attempt at a cold front catch from Hoot onto Taz, who was just able to slip away. But there's going to be a fight over these buffs one way or another. They've just spawned up now. Really fighting over this casting buff. Combo comes on in together, excuse me. Seismic Slam. It's a pretty low health Abrams. He drops off the map. Dimov also low. ABL able to flatten Sharik. So Abrahams do win out in that engagement. There's a fight to be had on the backside of it. I'm almost certain of it. Hoot blown up. Stun eventually does tick off onto Saf, and nobody's there for a soul exchange. Healing Bright has to be used. Saf, no use in a fight for now, but Zergy was not able to chase the Geist.
Meanwhile, fight still taking place more on the right-hand side. The Nox Nostra coming out here from Listic. Under pressure, though, 200 HP, and that escape ability about to be put to the test here. Up and round we go. 3 more seconds to another Sanguine, and may have escaped the pressure this time, but you take a look at the overall state of the game. The Urn is going to be run by Abrahams this time. A bigger focus on the Urn than the last game, and they are swarming over it with seemingly no real VP presence here, Mitch.
Yeah, I just don't think there's any intervention here from Virtus.pro. They've got eyes elsewhere, looking to get themselves a Guardian and sort of try and stay in the game. Now, again, Urn for Guardian. I mean, for Virtus.pro's purposes, the fact that it gives them access to that left side Abraham's jungle probably feels like a reasonable exchange. That was obviously where Zergy made most of his money in that previous game. What, like 30% of his income as a result of neutrals, which is pretty cracked. And I do think a big part of the VP's game plan, like you mentioned, is get out of lane intact and just have a ridiculous mid to late game with those very fed carries.
I think the other thing, too, in the trade that also felt pretty good is that it also got them their last missing item slot, which at times you don't want to ever get in a spot where you're deeper into the game and somehow the other team has now turned the Guardian into an inflection point where you have to sacrifice to get it. So if you can finish that out, get your item slot for just the cost of an Urn, which overall economy-wise, it's like pretty reasonably well balanced. It's not a macro decision you hate, but you know, once more, we've ended up in a situation that is relatively even across the board. I will say, though, in terms of scaling, I mean, maybe unless Zergy gets, like, turbo-fed, but the late game, I don't think is shaping up well for VP well at all right now, especially as ABL is ahead.
But this is what they need to do. Catch these people out. Saint, heal with Frost Grenade, knows that any more investment is probably going to be a waste of time. Okay, Together turns up here over on Zergy. This is the left side of the map, and Dimov probably won't have much to say about this. There is a rotation coming in from Hoot, though. We had some big afflictions in the last game, 16k in one of those previous fights, which is pretty disgusting. So it looks like Hoot might try and link up here with Dimov and set up an elimination on Together, who's a little bit on the lower health side of things. It came a little bit too slow. Together will be given a stay of execution. Couple too many of those for Abrahams in this game. There's some gun damage coming in from Hoot, who apparently just turned their attention on to a low health Saf, who was lingering a little too close to the sun, so to speak. So here comes Hoot. Affliction pops. Ain't going to be feeling the burn from that. The Frog Plague is going to cause him issues.
Yeah,
Saints
effectively taken out of the fight.
Yeah, I can't do a thing about it. He's permanently 1 HP, or at least rather for the time being. So back to base with him. Need to sort of heal back up. And a decent amount of damage on the Walker, all things considered.
Yeah, I mean, VP is still just very good about this, where even when things have been, pushed a little bit against them, the main goal, main goal, get pressure on to the Walker, go from there. A little bit of a skirmish here on top. Tass should be able to get away. Not something that you're going to see Hoot chase down here just yet. I think the next major fight, realistically, both teams are going to play it a little bit low until the next urn comes out. Maybe there's a world where Shriek finds someone, but as I say that, together, nearly finding the charge.
I can take up the Sin of Sacrifice. That in theory falls under Virtus.pro's side of the map. It might be contested. They're just so important to trying to get ahead. Yeah, we're contesting this 100%. So a boon here over to Hoot. Some of the souls there. Hey, at some point, clearly looking to try and chase down the Abrams. The other one's none of that. Also concerned probably about Sharik lingering nearby. That combo locking someone down, which set VP up for a player advantage early in the big fight.
I mean, still a little bit of opportunity for a bit of skirmishing here on the left-hand side. I think ult-wise, things are actually panning out pretty well for VP. You take a look at where Zergy and Hoot are. They're going to have both back up for either earn contest or earn fight, but this is where ABL could just get a little bit into it, where, interestingly enough, the Sanguine Retreat actually broke the Yamato tether, the one thing that breaks the thing that goes through space and time.
Yeah, that can't be right. That Yamato tether looked like it was a perfect connection. Still, Obicam in trouble. Together happy to fight here. Zergy, though, is getting involved. There should be a stun here on Together, but nobody in position. Shout out Bonus Bones 32. Thank you for the $25 addition to our prize pool. Puts us up to 850 as per Puckett's appeal earlier on. Now buffs are up.
So I know Puckett's been to a lot of MLG events over time. He could actually just summon the air horn. That's how it goes.
Bro does not need a soundboard. You saw just there, though, like the mobility from Hoot, which is what makes him so good at getting across the map and fighting for those objectives. So we have an earn take already here for Virtus.pro. They've really mastered this in the previous game. Here's the goo ball. Plenty of value to get down here by the shop. And ABL reeling somewhat from that, but it doesn't look like Dimov really wants to fight for it. Not at least until at least Sharik and maybe even Hoot get here. But Frozen Shells is not going to give him any other choice. CP Shadow Transformation there for ABL, and that's the pick they were looking for. It's Sharik out of the game with combo in the back pocket. No chance to use it. An earn take as well could be massive here for Abrahams, excuse me, as they pick Hoot up as well. Mid boss has got to be on the table.
Mitch, why not both potentially? Earn going to be run on over. Potential to go for mid boss, and again, you got to give up for Saint, where Hoot goes in. I think Hoot landed what could have been a 2 or 3 man affliction there, and Saint was just there going, nope, Frozen Shelter gonna undo most of the damage your Frogs looking to do. However, the contest coming from VP, not looking to make things easier for Saint. Under the gun, 200 HP, being real slippery here though. With the ice path, may be able to get away. Saf though, giving their life a turn. To see Together going on in.
Yeah, Together in trouble. Saw the cube used on Dimov. Couldn't quite catch him. Virtus.pro with the players back in the fight. Maybe some zipline boosts also got them in position to intervene. And the solo is there for the taking now. VP insist on fighting yet again after going 0 for 2 in trades. And they're going to be rewarded for it. ZP 92 plays 87k. And it's ultimately a clean earn take. In the long run anyway.
Yeah, and I mean, I think for Abrahams, they just thought the run-in for Saint was a little bit more clear than it was in actuality. That being said, looking at the game state here, I think things are a little bit rough for VP. They may be ahead in the aggregate, but ABL looks like terror incarnate at the moment. 18k Yamato, you look on the other side, and 18k 7, that's not equivalent. Between the two, 7 needs to be far further ahead to really take over relative to ABL, who effectively at this point right now, Mitch, ABL can target someone, dive on them, and there's not much they can do unless maybe it's Amina who's gonna, break the flying strike. But other than that, ABL can choose any target on VP, and make their life pretty difficult. So when you're looking at the later team fights right now, I think VP is in a precarious position if they can't continue the manufacture it picks before the main fight.
That was the quickest cube I've ever seen. Dimov saw ABL coming from, didn't want to get caught in the flying strike at all, which I completely understand. So Abraham's the priority in this part of the map. VP are, for the most part, trying to avoid them. Now, of course, it's a play around these walkers. Buffs are up in 2 minutes. Mid-boss is still active, and that right side neutral creep camps here is where Virtus.pro are trying to make most of their meal of. I think Jamside has just found that out the hard way, running into 3 or 4 players. I don't know how the Infernus is supposed to get out of this one. Concussive Combustion active, needs good connection on this. It needs those teammates to get there in time, but nobody on Abrahams is really attempting to intervene. Frozen Shelter comes down, and that will be the pickup on Jamside. So at least he's tried. Saint, now he might be caught out as well. Needs to try and jump away. It looks like at least ABL should be able to ward the rest of them up, but no, another pick here. Saint tries to help Jamside, caught out. Now might be a transition into the right side. Walker for Virtus.pro. ABL's got to do something about this. Little saber rattling at the very least. The big damage done for VP, and they're going to stick this. They're insisting on the Walker take. And now, though, Abrahams are in position to dive on them. Saf is very close by. Also, Taz wending through the buildings, mostly airborne, looking to try and get a fight. A big point-blank assassination shot on the Zimov, drops the Viscous very low. Taz heads up to the rooftops, but doesn't expect to run into Hoot immediately. Zimov eventually got chased down, but it's going to be a stun here on Taz. He's got to make sure he can still slip away. Virtus.pro trying to go 1-for-1, if not better. Zergy and Listic cleaning up Abrahams, and VP get everything they want. Jamside comes back off respawn, but with no backup to speak of. He's got to be awful careful on the jump pad of both Listic and Jamside. But no further engagement between the Mina and the Infernus. VP get away with absolute daylight robbery and murder in equal measure.
That was a car crash on an icy day where the first accident happens and Abrahams just could not hit the brakes in time. Car after car crashing in after. Jamside is out of position when this starts. VP recognizes it, gets the pick on the Jamside. Saint tries to save it, get Jamside out. Instead, throws himself into it. ABL gets stuck into going, okay, can I maybe defend this? I'm a Yamato that's ahead of the game. Maybe this will work. No, ABL ends up dying for it thereafter. It was one after another. No one could hit the brakes. No one could, on Abrahams, could stop the subsequent collisions, and has now given VP a true edge in the game.
Sorry, that's wrong. The doubles the sanguine retreat into an airdrop, just like absolute. I'm surprised there wasn't a rescue beam mixed in there somewhere. That's nuts. Ballistic is unable to be caught out. Solo attempt here for Saint, but dicey with death a little bit. Hit with a stun. Sharik takes the urn instead. There's still plenty of fight to be had. Sharik just gets the crap beaten out of him by the entirety of Abraham. So, okay, mea culpa moment perhaps for the Mo and Krill. But VP is still now looking at that mid Walker, making this a little bit painful for Abrahams. They might have to choose between Urn or Walker. They can't have both, and that Walker is down. That bullet damage that comes in from Ivy can really stack up.
The only upside right now for Abraham is that there's a lot of latent souls on the map. They're probably likely to get this Urn uncontested, and if they get walkers, the soul deficit between the two teams will be erased a little bit. So it's not quite as grim for Abrahams as it looks right now. If you look at the aggregate going like, oh my god, you're nearly 30k souls down. Well, you just got the Urn turn in. Oakham trying to steal a little bit of it in turn. But now for Abrahams, if they're able to get another walker, it'll even things back up. I mean, they have options in this game. I don't think it's as far gone as some people might look at here, but they also have to be careful not to repeat what happened before where, you know, one person that, you know, previously was like Jamside gets caught out and it leads to just a mistake punishing, you know, car crash the way that VP was able to do it.
14k soul lead. The allocation of them, though, is important. Overcome has a lot of souls. Been farming up, and we got a brief look at the sort of weapon-based build that the Ivy's starting to work with. We'll check back in as Jamside is in trouble here. Yeah, well, the Affliction going to make that an easy pickup for Hooters. He just sticks to the chase a little bit longer. Now, though, a little bit dangerous. Satchel and Cloak available here for the pocket. So, a little 1-2 punch combo is going to get Hoot out of trouble. In the meantime, ABL, I don't even know how they find their pick. Sharik doesn't even have to combo to lock them down, and I've got Deja Vu ZP. I get a couple of these picks snowballing out of control. It's the VP special.
Both times it started with Jamside. They found Jamside on the map, realized that they have what it takes to like take him down. Also the fact that the way Abrahams is rotating, usually Jamside is off on his own section of the map, just trying to get farmed so you don't have other people there. And that's twice in a row that VP punished Jamside to gain a pretty big edge. But now, Mitch, you take a look here. They make the mid-boss scream. They realize Abrahams can be waiting in the wings, and now they're looking for a fight before finishing off the mid-boss.
Well, they might have one. Let's see VP form the concave here over towards the mid site. Now, don't want to take any risks. We know they're a team that really is quite meticulous in terms of how they close out games, which is why it's very rare to see a Virtus.pro lead reversed. Like it almost never happens, whereas the inverse happens more likely than you would often think. So some camps being cleared there. Listic on a pretty respectable soul total, and here we go. Once again, mid-boss taken. Deep breath, everybody. This is Abrahams fighting from behind who actually take that mid-boss. Shadow Transformation comes in over the reju, but it's good punches coming in from 3 of the players from Abrahams. They get those credits, but now they're going to have to fight for it, or at least fight for what remains. Overcome charged in there together, just throwing his weight around that side room, and there's nothing the Ivy could really do. VP got caught sleeping.
Yeah, that was a phenomenal shot call from Abrahams, decided to go for mid-boss, and also the fall through. Their escape plan was really good. I don't think you want to fight Abrahams comp up close. And right now, together, Seismic Slam dropping on down. They're looking to punish the mole here once again. Combo, though, comes out. May have turned the tides as together. A little bit deep, still in a decent spot. Sharik trying to get out of this. The puddle punch, gonna finish off together.
The timing wasn't great. Also, the Walker Stomp came in. Just the right moment. That couldn't be sort of parried off. Oh, Jamside, a little overextension, but again, this is house money. These are reju credits that are being played with, and Abrahams are going to be able to get back up, respawn, and go to town. Problem is, mid-boss taken for Abrahams. They have 1 reju credit left, but they still have a big Walker deficit they need to make up for. And ZP, Virtus.pro look like they're happy to fight despite that.
Yeah, I mean, VP, I think right now when you still have a reasonable lead, even though some of the things on Abrahams can scale out of control, you've kind of mitigated some of that. ABL isn't as ahead of the game as he was earlier. You're not necessarily going to get better situations to fight in here if you can take it, because I think the worry here is for VP still, just based on the comps they have, is that if nothing happens, both teams just kind of farm their side of the map for the next 5 to 10 minutes. Abrahams is probably going to be back into an edge, especially while I was putting the ABL. The one thing, though, that is really hurt Abrahams in the end game right now, Jamside has gotten the crap kicked out of him in the last 10 minutes. First pick in a lot of these fights, meaning that you are way behind in the souls from it, and now 6k behind your Yamato, who's the other top player. Now popping Shadow Transformation for buffs.
Okay, that's just how much we want to fight for those. This could go pear-shaped. Obikim's going to get on out of there. Doesn't really want to dance with it too much, and I'm going to draw the Shadow Transformation out, but bear in mind, that's like a minute cooldown. Puddle Punch here will interrupt the Soul Urn collection. Okay, Kudzu Bomb also to zone it out. There was a deployment of the Stun Bomb as well from Obikim. Probably just to get rid of it before the ultimate expired. VP are here and they're ready to fight for this. They're not going to give up the Urn for free. Saint's able to pick it up though. Listic now caught, locked in a duel with the Lady Geist, and that looked like a soul exchange popped. Main thing's a little bit scary for Zergy, who's gone quite low now and doesn't have that Storm Cloud available. Zergy might well be dead here. Chase is on though. Frozen Shelter popped. Inside of it, it's the Viscous of Dimov now. Together would like to get involved, and so he will. Shoulder charge off the back of the Warp Stone, unsuccessfully. Doesn't have that Phantom Strike available. And Dimov extricates himself, but for how much longer? Sharik with the Soul Urn turn in, and Saf picked off. VP do it again, ZP.
Oh, on a micro level, Dimov was by all rights dead, but just saw through the future, saw together going from the A-lane, goes, nah, I'm going to parry that and get away. Dimov, the escape artist once more on the Viscous. And yeah, I mean, VP just manufacturing several good fights across the map there, extending their lead here against Abrahams. Now a truly significant lead at about 25k, a little bit over. And they're in a great spot right now. I think the way team fights can break down, Abraham still has some options, mostly because ABL is still quite fed on the Amato, but at this point, it is more VP's game to lose, and they're going to try and angle this with their lead to make sure it's done around mid-boss and the next urn. And that's where Abrahams is going to have to try to find some sort of advantage ahead of time if they could get pickoff. But the problem is when there's been pickoffs in the neutral right now, for the most part, it's been against Abrahams, where if I'm Abrahams, I'm taking a look at Jamside and assigning him an adult. Because so many times over the last 10 minutes, VP has started out the next objective by finding where Jamside is, pulling a few people over, killing Jamside, and turning that into a bigger advantage.
We've been on board with Listic here. They've just picked up Siphon Bullets and Stamina Mastery, which is a fun one, which obviously gives that additional use of an air jump or air dash before landing. Virtually doesn't have to touch the ground here. Now, of course, Sinner Sacrifices will be eaten up, but yeah, I mean, Listic has gotten pretty fed in terms of sort of where you want to be on this mina. You'll notice, of course, that Tank Buster is a big part of it. Spirit Burn, excuse me, added to the mix, and that Boundless Spirit. So hitting very, very hard in these fights. Zergy, of course, has also managed to get in towards that Boundless Spirit. So alongside that Surge of Power, very much threat level maximum here. And the Ethereal Shift picked up for that extra level of survivability. And you'll notice the Transcendent cooldown in the inventory, which is a 30% ability and item cooldown reduction. It is very, very potent. Dimov, though, might be caught. Power Slash comes through. Dimov on the goo ball, just trying to sow some discord and disarray. We'll just roll on out.
Has he died this match?
I don't even think maybe once or twice, but yeah, no more than that. Well, let's hit tab. Observers, we'll see.
Yeah, we can if he has died, it hasn't been much. Okay, it's been
twice.
2, but the only upside about that last exchange is that if your Abrahams are able to, get into a team fight next little bit, you at least force the goo ball off, but it's pretty short cooldown overall. So it's not one of those things where it's like, oh, a huge advantage to now plan a bigger play. And again, taking a look at timers, expect the next major engage really to take place in the next minute or so. And I mean, you look at how Abraham's position on the map. They are giving up a good amount of jungle right now, Mitch. It's a very defensive posture where they're aware that if they get picked off and it leads to another team fight against them, there's not going to be any coming back the next time.
Yeah, it's what has turned us into a 40k soul lead. That is absurd. And much of that, it comes from just the pickup of the neutrals here over the last sort of 3 to 5 minutes. And obviously the control of the Sinner Sacrifices. That's it. That's all. It is kind of wild that is how, and that's why the macro game is so important. Obviously, still a lot of souls are stored in the 2 walkers that Virtus.pro still have standing that Abrahams could take, but doing so would obviously put them in a position where they lose mid-boss. So they have to win a fight and then try and transition to them. And the waves are pushed against Abrahams such that even a slip up here, positionally from Virtus.pro, kind of hard to punish.
Take a look right now. Shriek might be the one they're going for. You see Abrahams all rotating over to the left. Shriek has been the one most picked off on the VP side, but Shriek also keeping their distance on the left. There was a brief moment, I was like, maybe it's the time. Not quite yet.
So I think it was a crippling headshot for Oberkim picked up. So that item is disgusting with the healing reduction, especially on this Kelvin composition and when there's a Lady Geist. So that is very, very dangerous. Something you have to look out for. Damn, those like love bites be hitting a little bit different. Cold Front not applied there by Listic. Oh, someone else did it. That's fine. Here's that Nox Nostra. Saf in deep trouble and no one close enough to get off a good soul exchange either, but who goes down elsewhere? Tass clearly finding a nice little assassination. There has to be a response to that, and it's ABL that will go down. The Vindicta, though, still at large, as it seems as if Listic has uncovered them. Virtus.pro now looking to go up another gear. They've lost the pocket, but Hoot was still able to get off the big cooldown, ZP. The Affliction still came down, which means his job essentially was done. There's still a Storm Cloud up here in this fight for Zergy, and VP are making short work of Abrahams. Once again, the bell begins to toll. Together's healthy, looking in Listic's direction. Nice little lockdown, though, as Together will be stunned up out here on the gantry, chased down by the Goon Squad. It's Shriek and Dimov to lock Together out of the game, and there's a full team wipe, and GG's already being called by Abrahams. Virtus.pro aiming now to be our Shift 2 champion.
Dimov got 3 in that last fight. Had one of the highest value goo balls you can see, even with the heroics of Saint coming in with the save versus Nox Nostra, and VP going a little bit deep. My word, Dimov just turns the entire fight. Viscous, once again, looking to be an all-star, and this is what you like to see. I mean, you think all the way back to the draft, VP valued Viscous above any other pick in this draft. Picked it first when they realized Abrahams would take it, and Dimov continued to execute. Incredibly evasive the entire game, and incredibly important in some of these fights, both for setup and finish. Good day if you're a fan of the goo.
Yeah. Indeed, CP. Indeed.
What I
I'm
say?
sure there was an N on the end of that word.
He's a flubber lover.
Yeah. Certain of it. GG, Puckett. GG. Virtus.pro are Shift 2 champions. Great showing, straight sets, and honestly, just some masterful macro that kept us on the edge of our seats. These guys really get this game at a deep level. And it's something that transcends just individual mechanics. They bring Hoot in, and honestly, fits like a glove.
Pretty good. Pretty good, that Hoot guy. Can we talk a little bit about Mina winning her first championship? Were you impressed tonight, ZP?
Yeah, I think Mina looked good. I think Listic made the most out of her toolkit there, where you saw multiple times that Listic was just escaping situations that a lot of other heroes would have went down on, not the least of which where Yamato Flying Strike, generally the one ability that just you'll go on people no matter what, actually met its match by
a great day for Goon fans.
Retreat. Yeah,
it's true. Uber is never wrong. Just slow down his cast and you'll find a whole lot of fun sentences. Let's take a look here at some of the best moments from this game. And ZP, while we listen to the saxophones in the background, what was your favorite part of this rematch between Virtus.pro and Abrahams?
I think for me, on a micro level, seeing Mina get played was great. I was definitely worried about the situation of, new heroes out, maybe it's broken and it just gets banned all day. So I think more than anything else, people getting to see a little bit of that was super cool today. Also, I just enjoy the storyline for VP and EU Deadlock in general, where VP is not always the #1 team in the game. They will get knocked down. Other teams will find combinations of it within the meta or just good mechanical play that they will take down VP. But VP is also never out of it for an extended period of time. They are the one team, whether it be coaching staff, players, or all the above, that they'll have a bad week, but they'll come back the next week with a new plan. I guess in this case, also a new player. They grabbed a little bit of an adaptation out of the Hydronation book, if you really want to get technical, but I don't think it was quite by that intent. Michaelis right now, it seems like taking a step back, and Hoot, a good person to bring on board for more than a few reasons. But also, I just love the fact that, meta-wise, they shifted things up where last week they were more in on we need frontline no matter what. This week they said, actually, we're going to focus on Viscous and Demov. Do your thing.
The Viscous definitely played his part in the game. I was looking at kind of the Abrams on both sides, and can you talk to me a little bit about this character? Because he was in as many games as he didn't get banned. Uber, I expect that as we go back to North America. Is there a best player in Europe? Is there a best team at putting him to use?
I think it's pretty hard to go past VP in the hands of Listic. Obviously, he's pretty awesome. Together's a great player, though. Make no mistake. Abrams is just... He's very powerful, but he's not quite powerful enough to be first ban. So often it's like the first pick team tries to pick him up. He's a great initiator. He sets up these shoulder charges. Also, basically, when he gets some items like Phantom Strike, he can guarantee a shoulder charge on a player because Phantom Strike warps him to them, behind them, and then he just hits shoulder charge and they just get hoovered up and slammed into a wall. So it becomes pretty trivial to just lock someone out of the game. And when you have like the Mo and Krill on your team as well, it's just like layers and layers and layers of lockdown. Like we've seen in like Dota, for example, where like late game, the CC abilities become the most important thing. So, and he's also got amazing sustain. He has really sick melee stats, and you spec into that, right? You build him that way. Yeah, he's just a monster, man.
Love seeing it in the short range. At long range, though, I had a great time just watching Zergy's screen. Every time we went there, he was dishing out damage. ZP, could you choose a employee of the night, though? Who is your MVP from our EU final?
It's got to be Demov. Was put in overtime, all VP. They banked their draft strategy around Demov, and you're just not going to get better Viscous play than what we saw here today. Sure, you could go give it to Listic because Listic was on Mina, but no, we got to recognize who was really bringing it to bear, and for me, it was Demov.
Yeah.
Chat, what is the best nickname you have seen in game other than the Goo and the Goo lovers?
Yeah,
I've seen Flubber. I've seen the Blob. I've seen Snot. What do you got, ZP? Any other?
I'm trying to I had one at one point. I just know that there was also the part where people are campaigning for a white Viscous skin, and we'll just leave that one alone. People just have all sorts of ideas,
we all saw Torbjorn in an away skin for the first time in Overwatch, and it was quite an iconic moment at that World Cup stop. I'm pretty sure ZP and I were casting that game on network television. Anyway, here's your player of the match. It is Dimov from Virtus.pro, and I agree. Look, ZP, someone who was like, VP were really prioritizing this hero, and sometimes it's in the background that Viscous is doing a lot of their work here, but like you can see great sustained damage coming down. The Goo Ball is very, very effective and honestly like doing sick damage. Look at controlling the buffs here. Puddle Punch, obviously something that scales off your melee stat. Initially, it's light melee. Later on, it's heavy. So you can you can invest early in like powerful melee stats to be really like a Abrams level brawler in those lanes. Really impressed with what Dimov was able to provide. So solid, so consistent, and very dependable.
I asked chat, does Mina have the best mobility? And they're like, no. It's this man right here, Viscous.
Yeah.
Able to get around the map so quickly, in and out. Some of the best escapes. Dimov showcasing them throughout this game. Virtus.pro, a clean night. As they get the job done in just 3 games, they will take home half of our overall prize pool. ZP, if you want to contribute to Dimov's check, knowing that he is an employee of the night, how do you get involved?
Well, it's quite simple. We got our donate link in chat. You can do, I think there's an exclamation point command for it, or it's just on the Twitch page itself. I think we got links over on YouTube. And yeah, it's just simple. Drop us a quick donation. You'll show up here on the list. Pharaoh with $100. Another big one coming on in. And yeah, it goes directly in the prize pool, directly to the players. And you know what? Just supporting some great community Deadlock action.
I just love that Benda guy 664 is still up there. Stay strong, Benda guy.
One more $26 pushes him out. That's all I'm saying. If the name offends you, you yourself can
push
take agency.
Benda guy out.
And push him out.
Whatever you want to do. Just takes a little bit of money. Drop a 69 cents. We'll drop a nice in the chat. Big thank you to everyone who hit the follow button as well. We're up to 2,400 followers with about 1,400 viewers on Twitch. That's a pretty nice conversion rate over on YouTube. Much love to everyone who argued whether or not we should have our next tournament in Saudi Arabia. Saf, is he the kid from Fortnite or not? That was a big discussion. Is it Saf, the multi-title competitor, making his way into Deadlock? Can we get some confirmation here? If so, I interviewed him like when he was 15 years old, 16 years old. The kid was a freak then. He's going to be a monster
He was a
right
Fortnite
now.
player on Cyber Legacy. I don't know if people sort of know that team. I don't know if that was like, I think like they played in some FNCS stuff, but yeah, not too sure. Definitely Saf known for, previous Fortnite performances.
Well then, welcome to the night shift. I'm glad I got to witness you losing to Virtus.pro. just kidding, Saf. Much love, bud.
You know what else we get to witness? We got Itlistic with an interview, the Mina player, as it were.
Thank God ZP's on this show to reel us back in. Listic! Thank you for showcasing the character. The chat was very excited to witness tonight. Did you have fun when you were able to run her?
Yeah, she's broken. I like playing broken characters.
When you say broken, how can I immediately jump into Deadlock and start abusing her abilities, or I guess builds?
Her one has 50 base healing on it whenever you kill her minions, so you can like just walk up to small camps or minions and just take them for free. Basically, you just go into their jungle, love bait the minions and then just slash them. You're back to full health basically. She just has no downtime at all.
So I got to ask here, obviously going in the draft, you guys had Mina as a back pickpocket, but really the hero that you guys were focused on more than anything else today, where it went up and up in draft priority, was the Viscous, where it almost felt like you guys were aware that if you didn't pick it higher and higher, that it would get stolen from you. But what do you think is making Viscous so good for you at this point in time? Is it just Dimov playing arguably the best Viscous in the world, or do you think the character itself is that important to your team comp?
Yeah, it's just one of the best well-rounded characters in the game. It has supportive tools, it has offensive tools, it has tank tools. It's just it has everything. Of course, it's Dimov as well, playing just the best in the world. Viscous, pretty easy, no glaze.
Yeah.
Best in the world. That's high praise.
Yeah, I mean, pretty easy to say, I think.
I want to just look, you guys, especially in that game one. I think it's the kind of game that people, if they want to understand how important macro is in Deadlock, that's a game to go back and study, because you guys have a pretty rocky lane, and even in game 2, they pick some busted lanes against you. They have Geist Yamato, they have the Kelvin Infernus. They've just got really, really strong pairings. And you guys, I wouldn't say you dominate lane. It's pretty back and forth stuff, but somehow in every exchange of resources, you guys were coming out on top. Can you just break down the game plan when you do have a rough earlier game, how you guys clamber back into it? Because some of the stuff you were doing across the map just as a team was kind of mind-boggling, and Abrahams couldn't really keep up.
Just I think right now it's like a pick meta. I feel like pick characters are so like underappreciated. So having the Mo and Holiday just to after lane, you know, even if the enemies are behind, it doesn't matter if they're like CC'd for like 5 seconds, right? So you can just contest mid, contest buffs, contest turn, like whenever you want, really, so long as there's, you know, people in position for that.
So my question I got to ask, and this is just hyping up for NA, where Billy is going to be available. Now, I realize you were in a match and therefore probably didn't have a lot of time to see Billy, who just recently got added to the game, but looking to be more of a frontline role, you know, what's your gut read from, you know, just after playing Mina? Do you think Billy is going to be strong, weak? Do you think we'll see it in NA after we go to break and come back with NA in just a little bit?
I have no clue on Billy. I haven't had the opportunity to sit down and like see what he's about. But like, if he's anything like Mina, there's probably going to be some like undiscovered stuff that people just aren't abusing for some reason, and we'll see that next week before it gets hot fixed. And yeah,
Listic, while I was working, excuse me, while I was working overseas, everyone was talking about new games they're getting into, and Jake, part of our show, is just saying Deadlock, Deadlock, Deadlock. For you, why do you love this game? And for anyone who hasn't touched it yet, why do they need to get the invite?
Oof. It just has everything, man. It just has everything. It's like the abilities feel crisp, the movement feels nice. It's like a 3D MOBA. It's just everything I want from a game. I don't know. For me personally.
And if you're picking up the game for the first time this week, what characters do you need to pick right away?
What characters do you... That's a hard one. I feel like Hayes and Rafe are like pretty good starter characters because they're just mostly about M1.
I like these answers. It's my first time watching your team. I'm sure it's not the last that'll see you leaving as champions. Congratulations on taking half the prize pool on the night.
Thank you.
That is Listic. That is Virtus.pro. They're coming back next week for more money. You heard it from them, and you can up the ante right now. Hit that donation button on the way out. I'm told we have an amazing piece featuring one of the greatest mustaches that is not allowed near small children or elementary schools. He goes by the name of Mr. Kaplan, and he's hanging out with Lord NM, AVG, and Zergy. Take a look.
We're finally back now with part 2.